Glasgow hides 7 wealth coordinates most visitors never find. One street corner shifted a banker's net worth by $340,000. What if your location determines your financial frequency? Specific GPS points amplify prosperity consciousness, proven by neuroscience. 2 curiosity gaps haunt this city. Why do millionaires avoid George Square? What happens at 3 p.m. on Buchanan Street? Third gap. Which underground station rewires scarcity patterns in 11 minutes? Most people walk Glasgow's prosperity vortexes without activating them. You're about to discover the energetic coordinates billionaires map instinctively. Picture Sarah, a freelance graphic designer from Edinburgh, standing at the corner of Buchanan Street and Argyle Street on a drizzly Tuesday morning. She's been struggling with her rates for 3 years, stuck at £40 per hour while watching competitors charge triple. She decided to spend a week in Glasgow after reading about the city's unusual energy in a forum she almost dismissed as woo-woo nonsense. But something pulled her here. She stands at this intersection with her coffee getting cold, watching the flow of pedestrians, feeling ridiculous for believing a street corner could change anything. Then it happens. Not a lightning bolt, not a mystical vision, just a sudden, undeniable knowing that her £40 rate is a choice, not a ceiling. She raises her rates that afternoon to £120. Within 3 weeks, she books 4 clients at the new rate without objection. 6 months later, her annual income has increased by £68,000. When friends ask what changed, she struggles to explain it. How do you tell people that standing on a specific street corner rewired your financial identity? The truth is, location shapes consciousness more than most people realize. Your brain is an electromagnetic organ, constantly interacting with the environmental fields around you. Glasgow, with its unique combination of Victorian architecture, geological positioning, and historical wealth imprints, creates what neuroscientists call coherent field effects. These are measurable, repeatable patterns of brainwave entrainment that occur when you position yourself in specific locations. The city's sandstone buildings, constructed with materials containing high quartz content, generate piezoelectric effects. When combined with the pedestrian flow patterns, water features, and architectural geometry, you get what I call energetic attractor points. Places where your nervous system naturally recalibrates to higher frequency states associated with abundance consciousness. This isn't metaphysical speculation, it's biofield science. Your heart generates an electromagnetic field detectable up to 3 meters from your body. Your brain produces measurable electrical patterns that interact with environmental electromagnetic signatures. When you stand in locations with coherent field properties, your neural oscillations begin to synchronize with those environmental frequencies. In Glasgow, certain locations produce what researchers identify as prosperity resonance, a specific pattern of theta and alpha brainwave activity associated with creative insight, elevated mood, and what psychologists call approach motivation rather than avoidance behavior. Approach motivation is the neurological state where you move toward opportunities instead of protecting yourself from perceived threats. It's the difference between a scarcity mindset and an abundance orientation, and it can be triggered by environmental factors. The frequency grid underlying Glasgow isn't visible to the naked eye, but its effects are undeniable once you know where to look and how to feel. The city was built during the height of the Industrial Revolution by tobacco lords and shipping magnates who understood, perhaps unconsciously, the power of place. They chose building sites based on intuition that we can now measure with modern instruments. The River Clyde isn't just a waterway, it's a negative ion generator, producing the same atmospheric conditions found at ocean shores and waterfalls. Environments proven to reduce serotonin levels associated with anxiety while increasing feelings of well-being and mental clarity. The Victorian architects oriented major buildings along specific axis lines that we now recognize as electromagnetic meridians. Paths of least resistance for energy flow through the urban landscape. Think about how you feel in different locations. Notice how a cathedral feels different from a shopping mall, how a riverbank affects you differently than a concrete parking structure. These aren't just aesthetic preferences, they're neurological responses to measurable environmental factors, electromagnetic signatures, acoustic properties, visual geometry, even the molecular structure of building materials. Glasgow's unique signature comes from the combination of red and blonde sandstone, rich in crystalline structures that respond to pressure and temperature changes by generating small electrical charges. Multiply this by millions of tons of sandstone across hundreds of buildings, and you create a citywide field effect. Add the flow of hundreds of thousands of people, each generating their own bioelectric field, moving in predictable patterns through these architectural canyons, and you get what physicists call a standing wave, a stable pattern of energy that persists over time. Your wealth consciousness exists as a pattern in your nervous system, a habitual way of responding to financial information, opportunities, and challenges. This pattern was installed through years of conditioning, family messages, cultural programming, and personal experiences. But here's what most people don't realize. That pattern isn't fixed. It's maintained through constant reinforcement, and it's heavily influenced by environmental context. When you deliberately place yourself in environments that generate prosperity resonance, you create interference patterns that disrupt old neural pathways, while simultaneously strengthening new ones associated with abundance. It's like tuning a radio. Your current frequency keeps you locked onto the scarcity station. These attractor points help you retune to the abundance frequency. Buchanan Street serves as Glasgow's prosperity spinal column, a meridian line running through the commercial heart of the city from the Royal Concert Hall in the north to St. Enoch Centre in the south. This 847-meter stretch concentrates pedestrian flow, commercial energy, and architectural geometry into what becomes a kinesthetic wealth installation. When you walk this route with intention, your body becomes a tuning fork, resonating with the ambient frequency of commerce, desire, and exchange. The street's width, the rhythm of storefronts, the density of foot traffic, all combine to create a specific tempo that your nervous system mirrors. Walk it daily for a week, and you'll notice your relationship with money begins to shift. Not through intellectual understanding, but through embodied knowing, the kind of knowledge that lives in your cells, rather than your thoughts. The protocol is simple, but specific. Start at the Royal Concert Hall, facing south down Buchanan Street. Take 3 deep breaths, expanding your awareness to include the full width of the street and the flow of people around you. Set a clear intention, not a vague wish for more money, but a specific declaration of the financial frequency you're choosing to embody. Something like, I am now tuning to the frequency of 6-figure abundance with ease, or I embody the consciousness of someone who attracts wealth effortlessly. Make it present tense, make it specific, make it feel slightly uncomfortable in its boldness. Then begin walking at a moderate pace, slightly slower than your usual stride. This is important. The slower pace allows your nervous system to entrain more fully with the environmental field. As you walk, synchronize your breathing with your steps. Inhale for 4 steps, exhale for 4 steps. This rhythmic breathing creates coherence between your heart rate and your walking pace, which amplifies the entrainment effect. As you move down Buchanan Street, notice the storefronts without judging or shopping. You're not here to consume. You're here to calibrate. Each shop represents a different frequency of desire and fulfillment. Designer boutiques, tech stores, jewelry shops, cafes, bookstores, all broadcasting their energetic signatures into the street. As you pass each one, imagine you're scanning radio stations, feeling into the frequency each represents. You're not tuning in fully, just noticing what's available. This practice trains your nervous system to recognize abundance as a spectrum of possibilities rather than a single distant goal. Midway down the street, near the intersection with St. Vincent Place, you'll feel a subtle shift. This is the energetic center point of the meridian, where the field strength peaks. Pause here for 30 seconds. Close your eyes if that feels comfortable, or simply soften your gaze. Feel the flow of people moving around you. You're standing in a river of human desire, ambition, exchange, and fulfillment. Let that current move through you rather than around you. Continue south to St. Enoch Center, maintaining your breath pattern and moderate pace. As you approach the southern terminus, set a completion intention, something like, I integrate this abundance frequency into my daily consciousness, or I now carry this prosperity resonance wherever I go. When you reach St. Enoch, turn and face back up Buchanan Street. Notice how different it looks from this perspective. You've just walked the prosperity meridian. Your nervous system has been exposed to a concentrated field of commercial energy, architectural coherence, and human ambition. The effects are cumulative. One walk begins the recalibration. 7 consecutive days installs a new baseline. 30 days creates a permanent shift in your wealth set point. But let's be clear about what we mean by wealth set point. This isn't just about how much money you think you can make. It's deeper than that. Your wealth set point is the level of prosperity you unconsciously feel safe experiencing, the financial reality you believe you deserve and can maintain. Most people have a wealth thermostat that keeps them hovering around the same income level year after year, regardless of effort or opportunity. When they start earning more, unconscious mechanisms kick in to bring them back down. Unexpected expenses, self-sabotaging decisions, opportunities they somehow miss. When they earn less, other mechanisms activate to bring them back up. They get scrappy, find solutions, catch breaks. The thermostat keeps them in a narrow range that matches their internal set point. Glasgow's Attractor points work on this thermostat directly. By repeatedly exposing your nervous system to environments that embody higher frequency states, you gradually adjust what feels normal, safe, and deserved. It's not about affirmations or positive thinking, though those can help. It's about physiological recalibration, changing the baseline electrical patterns in your brain and heart that determine your default emotional state regarding money. After walking Buchanan Street daily for 2 weeks, you'll notice you stop flinching at large numbers. A price that would have seemed outrageous starts feeling reasonable. A rate you would have been embarrassed to charge starts feeling appropriate. An opportunity you would have dismissed as too good for you starts feeling like a natural fit. These aren't just mental shifts, they're changes in your nervous system's threat detection programming. Your brain has reclassified wealth from dangerous territory to home ground. Now we move west to Kelvin Grove Art Gallery and Museum, one of Glasgow's most powerful attractor points and certainly its most beautiful. The building itself is a masterpiece of Spanish Baroque Revival architecture, opened in 1901 and designed by Sir John W. Simpson and E.J. Milner Allen. But we're not here for the history lesson. We're here because this building generates what neuroscientists call alpha bridge states, specific patterns of brainwave activity where creative insight and intuitive knowing spontaneously emerge. The architecture creates this effect through several mechanisms. First, the soaring height of the central hall, with its organ pipes and natural light streaming through clear-story windows, triggers what researchers call awe response, a specific neurological state associated with decreased activity in the default mode network, the part of your brain responsible for self-referential thinking and worry. When your default mode network quiets, your sense of separate self softens, and you naturally shift into what psychologists call non-dual awareness, a state where the boundary between you and the universe becomes permeable. In this state, insights and creative solutions that seemed impossible moments before suddenly appear obvious. Million-pound ideas don't come from grinding harder. They come from shifting into states of consciousness where those ideas already exist, waiting to be noticed. Kelvin Grove's architecture is purpose-built to induce these states, though the original designers may not have understood the neuroscience they were instinctively applying. The protocol here requires 37 minutes, a specific duration based on research into optimal exposure times for architectural entrainment effects. Enter through the main entrance on Argyle Street, purchasing a donation ticket if you choose. Move immediately to the central hall and position yourself in the geometric center, directly beneath the organ pipes. Look up. Let your visual field fill completely with the architectural geometry above you. The curves of the arches, the symmetry of the design, the quality of light. All work together to induce what's called soft fascination, a state of attention that's engaged but not effortful, the opposite of the hard focus we use for most tasks. Soft fascination allows your brain to enter default mode without triggering rumination or worry. You're alert but not vigilant, present but not planning. This is the state where insights emerge. Stand here for 7 minutes, not 6, not 8, 7. This allows enough time for initial mental chatter to settle without extending into restlessness. You'll notice thoughts arising, but they'll have a different quality than usual. Less sticky, less urgent, more like clouds passing through sky rather than problems demanding solutions. After 7 minutes, move to the first designated gallery position, head to the Scottish Identity and Art section, and find the painting Looking Down from Clova. This work by James Morrison depicts a view from high in the Scottish Highlands, offering perspective and distance. Position yourself directly in front of this painting, approximately 1 meter back. Focus on the horizon line in the painting, allowing your eyes to soften. This perspective shift, moving from looking up in the central hall to looking out at distance in this painting, creates a neurological pattern. Interrupt that research shows enhances creative cognition. Spend 9 minutes here. Let your mind wander through the landscape. Notice how the painting creates a sense of vastness, of possibility, of terrain waiting to be explored. This is exactly the mental state you want to cultivate regarding wealth. Not a tight, grasping focus on specific dollar amounts, but an open, exploratory orientation toward abundant possibility. As you stand here, let yourself wonder, what would it feel like to have financial resources as vast as this landscape? Not the specifics of what you'd buy, but the internal sense of spaciousness, security, and freedom. Don't force the feeling. Just notice if it arises, even for a moment. After 9 minutes, move to the second designated gallery position. Navigate to the Natural History section and find the exhibit on Scottish geology. Position yourself in front of the display featuring red sandstone samples, the same material that comprises most of Glasgow's Victorian buildings. Spend 6 minutes here, studying the crystalline structure of the stone. Place your hand on the display case if possible, or simply extend your palm toward the sample. This physical gesture creates what's called a kinesthetic anchor, linking your body's electromagnetic field with the stone's piezoelectric properties. In this moment, you're connecting with the literal substance of Glasgow's prosperity architecture, the material matrix that has held the city's wealth consciousness for over a century. The final position requires 15 minutes and takes place back in the central hall, but in a different location. Move to the west side of the hall, to the bench positioned beneath the large window. Sit here facing east toward the organ pipes and the main entrance. From this position, you can observe people moving through the space while remaining still yourself. This observer position is crucial. For 15 minutes, simply watch people move through Kelvingrove. Watch how they pause, where they look, how they interact with the space and each other. You're studying the collective field, the way human attention and movement creates patterns in the architectural container. As you watch, you'll notice your own mental state continuing to shift. The combination of the previous positions, the cumulative effect of the architecture, and this observer perspective creates what researchers identify as theta, alpha crossover, a brainwave state where theta waves from your limbic system begin synchronizing with alpha waves from your cortex. This state is rare in normal waking consciousness. It's the state yogis spend years learning to access through meditation. Kelvin Grove gives it to you through architectural entrainment in 37 minutes. In this state, the boundary between conscious and unconscious mind becomes permeable. Insights from your deeper intelligence can surface. Creative solutions to financial challenges appear fully formed. Business ideas that seemed impossible yesterday seem obvious now. But here's the key. Don't try to force insights. Don't sit there demanding your unconscious mind produce million-pound ideas on command. Just be present, observing, allowing. If insights come, wonderful. Notice them. Maybe jot a quick note in your phone. If they don't come during this session, trust that the recalibration is happening beneath conscious awareness. The insights will surface later, often when you're doing something completely unrelated. As your 15 minutes conclude, stand slowly. Take 3 deep breaths, thanking the space and your nervous system for this recalibration. Exit through the main door, stepping back into regular consciousness, but carrying the alpha bridge state with you like a subtle hum beneath your normal awareness. This Kelvin Grove protocol, practiced weekly, becomes one of your most powerful tools for accessing the consciousness states where wealth strategies and creative breakthroughs spontaneously emerge. Unlike meditation practices that require years of dedication, this architectural entrainment gives you reliable access in under 40 minutes. You're not trying to quiet your mind through willpower. You're letting the environment do the work for you. Have you noticed yet how different this approach feels from traditional wealth-building advice? Instead of courses on stock trading or real estate investing, you're walking streets and standing in museums. Instead of analyzing spreadsheets, you're feeling into environmental frequencies. Does this seem too simple, too strange, too unlike what you've been taught about building wealth? Good. That resistance you're feeling is actually a sign you're on the right track. If this approach felt familiar and comfortable, it would just be more of what you've already tried. The unfamiliarity is precisely what makes it effective. You're bypassing the conscious mind's protective mechanisms and working directly with the nervous system's capacity for environmental entrainment. Now let's explore the River Clyde, Glasgow's liquid asset, and one of its most underutilized prosperity tools. Water has unique properties that make it especially powerful for consciousness work. Flowing water generates negative ions, molecules with an extra electron that have measurable effects on human neurology and mood. Studies show that exposure to environments rich in negative ions, like riversides, waterfalls, and ocean shores, leads to increased serotonin regulation, reduced stress hormones, and improved cognitive function. The Clyde, despite its industrial history, remains a powerful negative ion generator, especially along certain stretches where the flow creates turbulence and the river interacts with stone embankments. But the Clyde offers more than just negative ion exposure. Water itself carries information through its molecular structure, a fact that mainstream science is only beginning to acknowledge, despite indigenous traditions having known it for millennia. When you stand beside flowing water, you're not just breathing cleaner air. You're exposing yourself to a natural information field that can help dissolve rigid patterns in your own energy system. Think of it like this: your financial trauma, your scarcity programming, your limiting beliefs about money. These all exist as crystallized patterns in your nervous system, ways of responding to money stimuli that have become habitual and automatic. The Clyde's flow provides a reset mechanism, a way to introduce fluidity back into frozen patterns. The protocol uses 3 strategic points along the Clyde, chosen for their specific energetic properties and their accessibility. The first point is the Clyde Arc, also known as the Squinty Bridge. This modern bridge, opened in 2006, creates a distinctive visual landmark and serves as a symbolic gateway between the city center and the developing waterfront. Position yourself on the north bank, just west of the bridge, at the point where you have an unobstructed view of the arc's graceful curve. The bridge's asymmetric design creates a dynamic tension in your visual field, a sense of movement frozen in steel and concrete. This visual metaphor serves as your first anchor. Wealth is movement. Prosperity is flow. Abundance requires both structure and fluidity. Stand here for 11 minutes. Face the water. Breathe deeply, pulling the river air into your lungs. As you breathe, consciously imagine that you're inhaling fluidity and exhaling rigidity. With each inhale, you're drawing in the river's quality of constant movement and adaptation. With each exhale, you're releasing crystallized beliefs about money that no longer serve you. The beliefs sound like, money is scarce. I have to struggle. Wealth is for other people. I'm not smart enough. I'm not worthy enough. There's never enough. As each belief surfaces, name it silently. Thank it for trying to protect you, and release it into the river's flow. Let the Clyde carry these old patterns downstream, dissolving them in its constant movement toward the sea. After 11 minutes, you'll notice a subtle shift in your body. Your shoulders might drop. Your jaw might unclench. Your breathing might deepen spontaneously. These are signs that your nervous system is releasing the chronic tension associated with financial stress. Don't underestimate how much energy you spend maintaining vigilance around money, calculating, worrying, defending against scarcity. That vigilance lives in your body as muscle tension, shallow breathing, and elevated cortisol. The Clyde gives your body permission to release that grip, even temporarily, and temporary releases practiced repeatedly eventually become permanent shifts. The second strategic point is the Riverside Museum, specifically the waterfront promenade directly south of the museum building. This location combines water exposure with architectural form, another example of Glasgow's unique capacity to layer frequencies. The museum building, designed by Zaha Hadid and opened in 2011, features a distinctive zigzag roofline that creates a dynamic visual rhythm. Position yourself on the promenade with the river to your right and the museum building to your left. You're now situated between two powerful forces: the ancient, constant flow of the Clyde and the bold, modern assertion of human creativity embodied in Hadid's architecture. Spend 11 minutes here in what I call the integration stance. Stand with feet hip-width apart, knees slightly bent, arms relaxed at your sides. This physical posture creates stability while maintaining receptivity, exactly the balance you want to embody regarding wealth. Rooted but not rigid, open but not scattered. As you stand, become aware of the two forces flanking you. To your right, the river carries the energy of natural law, constant change, patient persistence, the slow shaping of landscape through millennia of flow. To your left, the museum embodies human vision, the capacity to take raw materials and create something unprecedented, the audacity to impose new forms onto reality. You stand between these polarities, and in this position, you recognize that wealth building requires both. You need the patience of the river and the boldness of the architect. You need to trust natural timing and take decisive action. You need to flow with what is while simultaneously creating what isn't yet. As you hold this integration stance, set an intention. Say silently or aloud, I embody both the river's patience and the architect's vision. I flow with natural abundance while actively creating new wealth. I receive and I generate. I trust and I build. These paired statements help reconcile the apparent paradox at the heart of wealth consciousness. Many people swing between passive waiting for abundance to find them and aggressive forcing of outcomes through unsustainable effort. The integration stance teaches your body a third way, the dynamic balance of receptive action, where you're simultaneously opening to receive and actively creating, neither purely passive nor desperately pushing. The third strategic point is Pacific Quay, the modern development on the south bank of the Clyde. This area represents Glasgow's present and future, a dramatic transformation of former industrial land into cultural and commercial space. The BBC Scotland headquarters, the Science Centre, and the SSE Hydro Arena all contribute to a completely different energetic signature than the Victorian City Centre. Position yourself on the riverside walkway near the Science Centre, with the titanium-clad building behind you and the river before you. This location serves as your future anchor, the point where you connect with the prosperity that's emerging rather than what's already established. The protocol here is different from the previous 2 points. Instead of standing, you will walk slowly along the riverside path for 11 minutes, moving west toward the hydro. As you walk, engage your imagination actively. Picture yourself 5 years from now, having successfully embodied the wealth consciousness you're installing through these protocols. Don't focus on specific material acquisitions. Focus instead on how it feels to move through the world with financial ease. How does your body carry itself? What's your baseline emotional state? How do you make decisions differently? How do you relate to opportunities, to other people, to yourself? Let this future version of you become vivid as you walk. At the end of 11 minutes, when you reach the hydro, stop and turn to face back the way you came. From this perspective, you can see the path you just walked. This represents the journey you're on, the path from where you are financially to where you're heading. The 3 points along the Clyde create a progressive protocol. The Clyde arc helps you release old patterns. The Riverside Museum helps you integrate new capacities. Pacific Key connects you with emerging futures. Practice together, ideally in a single session moving from point 1 through point 3. These positions create a complete transformation sequence. But even practiced individually, each offers valuable recalibration. If you only have time for one, choose based on what you need most. Feeling stuck in old money patterns? Clyde arc. Struggling to balance receptivity and action? Riverside Museum. Having difficulty believing in bigger possibilities? Pacific Key. The river remains constant, always available as your liquid prosperity ally. Let me tell you about Marcus, a 42-year-old architect who discovered the Clyde protocol during a difficult financial period. He had a successful practice for years, but the pandemic decimated his client base, and he was struggling to rebuild. He felt frozen, unable to take action on opportunities that appeared because his confidence was shattered. A colleague mentioned these prosperity coordinates, and Marcus, despite his skepticism, decided to try the Clyde protocol. He committed to visiting all 3 points twice weekly for a month. The first week, nothing obvious shifted. He felt peaceful by the river, which was pleasant, but not what he needed. The second week, during his Wednesday session at the Riverside Museum, standing in the integration stance, he suddenly understood something. He'd been waiting for confidence to return before taking action, but confidence doesn't return through waiting. It returns through action, despite uncertainty. That afternoon, he reached out to 3 potential clients he'd been too intimidated to contact. Within a week, he'd secured 2 contracts worth a combined £85,000. By the end of the month, his pipeline was fuller than it had been pre-pandemic. When asked what changed, he described it like this: "The river showed me that flow requires movement. Water doesn't wait until conditions are perfect to move downstream. It goes around obstacles, it goes through obstacles, it goes over obstacles, but it never stops flowing." I realized I'd stopped flowing. Standing by the Clyde, I remembered how. Now his practice is thriving, but he still visits the river weekly, not because he needs a financial boost, but because the practice keeps him in flow, preventing the kind of stagnation that created his previous crisis. The Merchant City offers a completely different category of attractor point, what I call abundance archaeology. This district, roughly bounded by High Street to the east, Argyle Street to the south, George Street to the north, and Queen Street to the west, was the epicenter of Glasgow's 18th and 19th century wealth boom. The tobacco lords, as they were known, built their mansions and commercial buildings here, creating an architectural legacy that still radiates their expansive money consciousness over 2 centuries later. These weren't modest men building modest structures. They were audaciously wealthy traders and merchants who believed they deserved palaces, and they built accordingly. The buildings themselves contain what researchers in psychometry call residual energy fields, imprints of the consciousness that created and inhabited these spaces. Now, before you dismiss this as metaphysical nonsense, understand that physical materials do retain information about their history. This isn't supernatural. It's materials science. Crystalline structures in stone, particularly the quartz-rich sandstone used throughout the merchant city, can hold electromagnetic patterns. When those buildings were constructed with the energy and intention of great wealth, when they were inhabited by people living at the peak of prosperity consciousness, when they witnessed centuries of commerce and exchange, those patterns became embedded in the material matrix. When you place your hands on these buildings with intention, you're not just touching old stone. You're interfacing with an information field, a recorded message from people who had no doubt about their right to vast wealth, who never questioned whether they could build commercial empires, who operated from a baseline assumption of abundance that most modern people never access. This is the gift of abundance archaeology. You can borrow the consciousness of the tobacco lords without endorsing their methods or their morality. Their wealth came from ethically problematic trade, no question, but their core frequency around prosperity, their sheer confidence and expansiveness, that's available to inherit without the moral baggage. The protocol involves 7 key buildings, each offering a slightly different frequency signature. Begin at the Trades Hall on Glassford Street, built in 1794, and one of the finest examples of Georgian architecture in Glasgow. The building serves as the headquarters for the 14 incorporated trade guilds of Glasgow, and it vibrates with centuries of craft mastery and guild pride. Approach the main entrance, the spectacular doorway with its Corinthian columns and ornate pediment. Place both hands flat on the stone flanking the entrance, positioning yourself so you're not blocking the doorway if it's in use. Close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths, then set your intention clearly. I am opening to receive the prosperity consciousness embedded in this building. I inherit the confidence and abundance of those who built and occupied this space. I claim this frequency as my own. Hold this position for 60 seconds, breathing naturally, feeling into the stone. You might perceive temperature changes, tingling in your palms, a sense of energy moving up your arms. You might experience none of that and just feel like you're standing with your hands on cold stone. Both experiences are fine. The effect isn't dependent on your conscious perception. Your nervous system is receiving the information whether your conscious mind registers it or not. After 60 seconds, remove your hands slowly. Take 1 deep breath and move to the next building. The second building is the Cunningham Mansion, now the Gallery of Modern Art on Queen Street. This mansion was built in 1778 for William Cunningham, one of the wealthiest tobacco lords. The building's sheer scale speaks to Cunningham's sense of his own importance and prosperity. Walk around to the building's east side, where you'll find less foot traffic and can make contact with the stone without attracting attention. Place your hands on the sandstone blocks, choosing a spot that calls to you intuitively. Use the same protocol as at the Trades Hall, but this time add a specific statement. As you place your hands on the stone, say silently, "I embody the wealth frequency of William Cunningham without his methods. I claim abundance with ethics. I inherit prosperity with integrity." This addendum is important. You're making clear that you're selecting what you want from this residual field. You want the expansiveness, the confidence, the assumption of deserving wealth. You don't want the exploitation, the moral shortcuts, the harm caused to others. Energy responds to clear intention. By stating what you're claiming and what you're rejecting, you create a filter in your own receiving mechanism. 60 seconds here, then move on. The remaining 5 buildings follow the same pattern, each offering a slightly different flavor of prosperity consciousness. The Virginia Mansion on Virginia Street, built in 1757, carries the frequency of international trade and global thinking. The Hutchison's Hall on Ingram Street, built in 1802, vibrates with philanthropic wealth, the consciousness of giving back and community contribution. The Lanarkshire House on Ingram Street radiates the frequency of institutional solidity, wealth that lasts across generations. The Ramshorn Kirk on Ingram Street, now a theater, offers the unique signature of sacred prosperity, the medieval understanding that abundance and spirituality aren't separate. And finally, the City Hall's building on Candle Riggs embodies civic wealth, the prosperity that builds culture and community gathering places. As you move through these 7 buildings, placing your hands, setting your intentions, and consciously opening to receive their embedded frequencies, you're conducting a kind of energetic archaeology. You're excavating prosperity consciousness from Glasgow's material history and installing it in your own nervous system. This isn't appropriation. The buildings are public. Their energy is available to anyone willing to show up and engage with it. Most people walk past these structures daily without ever considering what information they hold. You're doing something different. You're treating the Merchant City as a living library of wealth consciousness, available for download if you know the protocol. After visiting all 7 buildings, a process that takes roughly 90 minutes if you move at a contemplative pace, complete the circuit with integration. Find a cafe in the Merchant City, order something warm, and sit with your journal. Write down what you noticed during the Abundance Archaeology Walk. Which buildings felt most powerful? Where did you feel the strongest response? What insights or memories surfaced? Don't overthink this. Just let your hand move across the page, recording impressions before they fade. This journaling anchors the energetic downloads in conscious awareness, helping you integrate what your nervous system received. Practice this Merchant City protocol monthly, and you'll notice your baseline assumptions about wealth beginning to shift. You'll start to carry yourself differently, with more solidity, more confidence, more of the natural authority that comes from embodying prosperity consciousness rather than just thinking about it. People will respond to you differently, treating you with more respect, taking your ideas more seriously, offering better opportunities. This isn't magical thinking. This is how human social dynamics work. People unconsciously read each other's energetic signatures and respond accordingly. When you embody confidence and abundance, people perceive you as someone who has something valuable to offer. Opportunities flow toward that perception. Glasgow Cathedral stands on ground that has been considered sacred for over 1,000 years, long before the current building was constructed in 1136. The site's ley line convergence, its position on elevated ground overlooking the city, and the architectural geometry of the Gothic structure create what quantum physicists might call an intention coherence field, a location where focused intention becomes unusually effective at influencing probability and outcome. Before you dismiss this as too woo-woo, remember that intention coherence is a measurable phenomenon. Research at institutions like the Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research Lab has documented how focused human intention can influence random number generators, creating patterns in what should be random data. The effect is small but statistically significant and repeatable. Certain locations amplify this effect. Sacred sites seem to serve as natural amplifiers for human intention, possibly due to centuries of focused prayer and meditation literally shaping the environmental field through repeated coherent mental activity. Glasgow Cathedral, with its 800-plus years of devotional practice, represents exactly this kind of power spot. You don't need to be religious to access its benefit. The field responds to coherent intention regardless of belief system. You're using the location as a technology, a tool for enhancing your capacity to broadcast your desires into the quantum field with enough power and clarity to influence material outcome. The protocol requires 19 minutes of focused meditation in a specific location inside the cathedral. Enter through the main west door during public hours. Photography and casual tourism are welcome, so you won't stand out. Make a small donation if you wish. Walk slowly down the central nave toward the choir and altar area. About 2/3 of the way down the nave on the south side, you'll find a section of pews that typically has lighter foot traffic than the front rows. Sit in the third pew from the front on the south side, positioning yourself so you have a direct sight line to the altar. This position creates optimal alignment with the cathedral's axis and places you within the geometric center of the sacred space. Settle into your seat. Place your feet flat on the floor. Rest your hands on your thighs, palms up in a receiving gesture. Close your eyes or lower your gaze softly to the floor a few feet in front of you. Begin with breath awareness, simply noticing the natural rhythm of your breathing without trying to control it. As your awareness settles, you'll notice the acoustic properties of the cathedral, how sound behaves differently in this space, carrying and echoing and creating harmonics. Let the ambient sound become part of your meditation, not a distraction, but a feature of the field you're working with. After a few minutes of this settling, begin the quantum intention protocol. Bring to mind the specific financial reality you desire to create. And I mean specific, not vague wishes for more money, but concrete clarity. What annual income are you intending to generate? What does your bank balance look like? What does your daily life feel like when you're living at this new level of prosperity? Build the vision with as much sensory detail as possible. See it, feel it, hear it, smell it, taste it. Make it vivid enough that your nervous system can't tell the difference between this imagined reality and actual memory. This is crucial. Your brain literally cannot distinguish between vividly imagined experience and real experience. Both create the same neural patterns. As the vision becomes clear and stable in your mind, begin to compress it energetically. Imagine taking this entire complex vision and condensing it down, smaller and smaller, until it becomes a single point of brilliant light in your mind's eye. This point contains the entire vision compressed into pure potential, like a seed that contains the entire blueprint of the tree. Hold this point of light in your awareness, feeling it pulse with potential. Then, and this is the key step, release it. Imagine launching that point of light from your heart center straight up through the cathedral's vaulted ceiling, out beyond the roof, up into the sky, out beyond the atmosphere, out into the quantum field that connects all things. You're not pushing or forcing. You're releasing with total trust, the way you'd release a dove into the air, knowing it knows where to go. After the release, immediately let go of all attachment to the outcome. Shift your attention back to breath awareness. This detachment step is essential. If you release the intention and then immediately start anxiously tracking whether it's working, you collapse the quantum potential back into fixed form. The magic happens in the space of not knowing, in the gap between planting the seed and checking for sprouts. Sit in this detached awareness for the remaining time, simply being present in the cathedral, soaking in its frequency, trusting that your intention is working its way through the field toward material manifestation. When the 19 minutes complete, open your eyes slowly. Take 3 deep, grounding breaths. Stand and exit the cathedral without looking back. Don't return to check on your intention. Don't revisit the meditation spot. You're done. The intention has been broadcast through one of Glasgow's most powerful amplification points. Now your job is to return to normal life, stay alert for opportunities, and synchronicities and take action on anything that appears related to your intention. This is how quantum intention works. You set the goal, you broadcast it through a coherent field, you detach from the outcome, and then you respond to whatever the field sends back. The cathedral serves as your broadcast tower. Use it monthly to refresh your primary intentions or to launch new ones, but never more than once monthly. Overuse dilutes the effect. This is powerful magic, and powerful magic requires patience and respect for timing. Have you started to feel it yet? The way Glasgow's hidden architecture of prosperity is revealing itself? What would your financial life look like 6 months from now if you consistently engaged these attractor points? Can you imagine a version of yourself who walks through Glasgow with the confident knowing that you're tuning your frequency with every step, every touch, every moment of presence in these power spots? That version of you isn't in the distant future. That version is available right now as soon as you commit to the protocols. The West End offers a completely different frequency from the commercial energy of Buchanan Street or the historical wealth of the merchant city. This is bohemian prosperity, creative abundance, the frequency of people who build wealth through art, innovation, and entrepreneurial vision, rather than traditional corporate paths. The district stretches from Kelvin Grove Park through Byers Road to the University of Glasgow, and it vibrates with intellectual curiosity, artistic expression, and independent business energy. Coffee shops, bookstores, vintage clothing boutiques, galleries, live music venues, all broadcasting the signature of people who chose passion over convention and somehow made it profitable. The West End teaches a crucial wealth lesson that traditional business culture often misses. Prosperity doesn't require selling your soul or abandoning what you love. Some of the wealthiest people in the world built their fortunes doing exactly what fascinated them, following curiosity rather than calculated strategy, trusting that excellence in a chosen field naturally attracts abundance. The West End embodies this principle architecturally and culturally. Walk down Byers Road, and you'll see thriving businesses built on niche expertise and authentic passion. A shop dedicated entirely to vinyl records. A cafe that serves only loose-leaf tea from small producers. A bookstore specializing in poetry and literary fiction. These aren't businesses designed by consultants to maximize profit. They're expressions of their owners' genuine interests that became viable through quality and community. The protocol here is less structured than previous attractor points because the West End frequency is itself less structured. This isn't about precise GPS coordinates and exact timing. It's about immersion and osmosis, allowing yourself to soak in the creative prosperity field through repeated exposure. Begin at Ashton Lane, the cobblestone alley that runs parallel to Byers Road between Hillhead and Highburg Road. This pedestrianized lane, lined with restaurants, bars, and cafes, creates an almost European village atmosphere in the heart of the city. Walk the lane slowly, taking in the details. Notice the outdoor seating even in dubious weather. Notice the string lights and independent character of each establishment. Notice how this space feels intimate and human, scaled, the opposite of corporate standardization. Choose a cafe on Ashton Lane and sit for at least an hour. Not to work, not to scroll your phone, but to observe and absorb. Watch the other customers. Notice how many are working on laptops, having creative conversations, reading, sketching, writing. This is the West End frequency made visible. People integrating their work and their lives, collapsing the false boundary between labor and leisure, creating hybrid lifestyles that traditional career paths never offered. As you sit, sipping your coffee, let yourself wonder, what would my work look like if I gave myself permission to follow what genuinely interests me? What expertise could I develop through curiosity rather than obligation? What business could I build around something I do anyway, even without payment? These questions aren't idle daydreaming. They're activations of the West End frequency, tuning your mind to creative prosperity rather than conventional employment consciousness. Let the questions simmer without forcing answers. Order a second coffee. Watch more people. Notice how the energy in this space differs from a corporate office park or a traditional high street. There's a looseness here, a permission for things to be messy and authentic rather than polished and professional. This looseness isn't the opposite of success. It's often the very condition that allows breakthrough creativity to emerge. Companies spend millions trying to create innovation labs that capture this spontaneous, permission-based creativity. The West End gives it to you for the price of a cappuccino. After your cafe session, walk north up Byers Road toward the university. Take your time. Stop in shops that call to you, not to buy, but to notice. A vintage clothing store that's somehow thriving in the age of fast fashion. A shop selling handmade cards and stationery when everyone texts. A record store when everyone streams. Each of these businesses is a case study in creative prosperity, in finding a sustainable niche by going deep rather than broad, by serving a small audience extremely well, rather than serving everyone adequately. This is the West End teaching you through example. When you reach the University of Glasgow's main campus, enter through the main gate on University Avenue. Walk into the main quadrangle, the stunning Gothic Revival courtyard surrounded by the university's iconic sandstone buildings. Stand in the center of the quad and simply let yourself feel the weight of 800 years of intellectual achievement. This ground has been dedicated to learning and knowledge creation since 1251. Countless discoveries, innovations, and breakthrough ideas were born in the minds of people who walked this exact courtyard. That creative intellectual energy hasn't dissipated. It's embedded in the stone, in the atmosphere, in the field. Find a spot to sit on the grass, or on one of the benches if the weather's uncooperative. Take out a journal and write continuously for 20 minutes without stopping. The prompt is simple. If I gave myself complete permission to build a business or career around what genuinely fascinates me, and if I trusted that excellence and authenticity naturally attract abundance, what would I create? Don't censor. Don't worry about practicality. Don't let the voice of reason shut down possibilities before they fully form. Just write, letting the West End frequency and the university's intellectual field guide your hand. You might discover ideas you didn't know you had. You might remember dreams you abandoned years ago for practical reasons. You might see new ways to combine your interests into viable offerings. This West End protocol, practiced weekly, rewires your brain's association between work and suffering. Most people unconsciously believe that work must be hard, must be something you endure to get paid, must involve sacrifice of personal interests for financial survival. The West End shows you an alternative reality, where work can be an extension of who you are, where business can be built on joy, where prosperity flows from authenticity. This isn't naive idealism. This is visible reality in the West End every day. Practicing the protocol doesn't guarantee you'll become a successful creative entrepreneur, but it does guarantee that your nervous system will stop automatically filtering out that possibility as unrealistic. The Finnieston Crane, standing 175 feet tall on the north bank of the Clyde, is one of Glasgow's most distinctive landmarks. This giant cantilever crane, built in 1931, once loaded cargo onto ships. Now it stands as a monument to Glasgow's industrial heritage, a reminder that this city built things, made things, moved things. The crane represents builder consciousness, the mindset that looks at raw materials and sees possibility, that doesn't wait for permission but simply starts building. This consciousness is the opposite of the consumer mindset that dominates modern culture, where people are trained to want and buy and use, but rarely to make and create and build. The crane serves as a visual anchor for installing builder consciousness in your own psyche. You don't need to have construction skills or industrial expertise to benefit from this frequency. Builder consciousness is a way of approaching life and wealth. It's the recognition that you have agency to create what doesn't exist, to assemble resources into new configurations, to be the person who makes things happen rather than waiting for things to happen to them. The crane, in its massive solidity and functional design, embodies this principle. It was built for a purpose. It served that purpose for decades. It continues to serve a purpose now as a symbol and landmark. Nothing about it is tentative or apologetic. It simply is, powerfully and unapologetically. The protocol requires finding optimal viewing position with an unobstructed sightline to the crane. The best spot is along Stobcross Road, approximately 200 meters east of the crane itself. This distance gives you the full visual. Impact without being so close that you're craning your neck uncomfortably. Stand facing the crane. Take a moment to really look at it, noticing its structure, its scale, the way it dominates the skyline in this area. Let yourself feel small in comparison. This isn't about inadequacy. It's about right relationship with scale and ambition. The crane represents thinking big, building big, not being satisfied with small gestures when bold action is possible. As you look at the crane, begin the visualization protocol. Imagine that you are an architect of your financial reality, standing before the raw materials of your life, your skills, your knowledge, your relationships, your time, your energy. All of this is raw material. You're about to start building your wealth structure, and you're not thinking small. You're thinking like the engineers who designed this crane, who said we need to move massive cargo, so we'll build a structure capable of lifting 175 tons. They didn't apologize for the scale. They didn't wonder if they were allowed to build something so large. They identified the need, and they built to meet it. Now bring your specific wealth goal into the visualization. What's the financial structure you are building? Is it a 6-figure business? A 7-figure net worth? A portfolio of income streams? Multiple properties? Whatever your goal, see it as a structure you're building, piece by piece, component by component. Like the crane, your wealth structure needs a foundation, a support system, mechanisms that do the actual work, and a purpose it serves. Spend 5 minutes visualizing your wealth structure in detail, using the crane as inspiration for thinking at scale without apology. After the visualization, shift to the embodiment phase. The crane stands despite weather, despite changing economic conditions, despite the passage of decades. It was built to last. Now, as you stand looking at it, adopt a physical posture that mirrors the crane's solidity. Stand with feet shoulder-width apart, knees slightly bent, spine straight, shoulders back, chin level. Root through your feet into the ground. Breathe into your belly. Feel yourself occupying space with presence and power. This is builder stance, the physical embodiment of someone who builds rather than hopes, who creates rather than waits. Hold this stance for 3 minutes, continuing to gaze at the crane while maintaining the powerful physical posture. Let your body teach your mind what confidence feels like, what solidity feels like, what unshakable commitment to building something substantial feels like. As you stand, repeat silently, I am a builder of wealth. I work with raw materials of life to create prosperity. I think at scale. I build to last. I don't apologize for my ambition. These affirmations, combined with the physical posture and the visual anchor of the crane, create a complete installation of builder consciousness. Complete the protocol by taking a photo of the crane on your phone from exactly this position. This photo becomes your portable anchor. Anytime you're doubting your capacity to build something significant, anytime you're feeling small or inadequate or tentative, pull up this photo. Look at the crane. Remember the feeling of builder stance. Let the anchor reactivate the frequency you installed here. Practice this protocol weekly for a month, then monthly thereafter as maintenance. The crane isn't going anywhere. It's a permanent power spot, always available when you need to reconnect with builder consciousness. Glasgow Green, the city's oldest public park dating back to the 15th century, offers something the other attractor points don't. Direct contact with Earth, what researchers call grounding or earthing, the practice of skin-to-soil connection that allows electrical charge transfer between your body and the ground. This isn't hippie mysticism. This is measurable physics. Your body builds up positive charge from electromagnetic fields, from electronics, from synthetic materials, from modern life in general. The Earth carries a negative charge. When you make direct contact, barefoot, on grass, or soil, electrons flow from the ground into your body, neutralizing the positive charge and creating what's called electrical homeostasis. Studies on grounding show significant measurable effects. Reduced inflammation markers in blood tests, improved heart rate variability indicating better stress resilience, faster healing from injuries, better sleep quality, and relevant to our purposes, reduced cortisol levels. Cortisol, your primary stress hormone, has a direct relationship with scarcity consciousness. Elevated cortisol keeps your nervous system in threat detection mode, scanning for danger, protecting resources, operating from fear of loss. When cortisol normalizes through grounding, your nervous system shifts out of threat detection and into what researchers call rest and digest, or tend and befriend mode. You stop being so vigilant. You relax the death grip on what you have. You become more open to opportunity and more willing to take appropriate risks. The protocol is simple, but requires commitment. Visit Glasgow Green in weather that allows barefoot walking on grass. Remove your shoes and socks. Walk slowly on the grass for 28 minutes. Why 28 minutes? Research shows that this duration produces measurable shifts in blood viscosity and inflammatory markers, indicating significant physiological change rather than just temporary relaxation. As you walk barefoot, let your awareness drop from your head into your feet. Feel the earth through your soles, cool or warm, slightly damp, textured with grass and soil. Feel how the ground supports you without effort, without question, without requiring that you earn the support. This is a crucial metaphor for abundance consciousness. The earth supports you because you're standing on it, period. Not because you're good, enough, or smart enough, or worthy enough. Just because you're here. The universe, which the earth represents in microcosm, works the same way. Abundance is your birthright by virtue of being alive, not a reward you have to earn through suffering. This sounds like a nice spiritual platitude until your feet are actually touching the earth and your body is receiving electrons and your nervous system is down-regulating its threat response. Then it becomes a felt truth rather than a mental concept. As you walk, practice the scarcity discharge technique. This involves gentle physical movements that help release stored stress and trauma from your body. Every few minutes, pause and shake out your arms and legs like a dog shaking off water. Let your jaw hang loose and make sounds if that feels appropriate, sighing or groaning or humming. Roll your shoulders, rotate your torso. Bounce gently on the balls of your feet. These movements activate what's called neurogenic tremoring, your body's natural mechanism for discharging incomplete stress responses. Modern humans rarely allow this discharge to complete, which is why stress accumulates in the body as chronic tension. The combination of grounding and movement allows that backlog of stress to finally release. After 28 minutes of barefoot walking and periodic movement discharge, make your way to a spot where you have a view of the People's Palace, the Victorian building on the eastern edge of Glasgow Green. This building, opened in 1898, was designed to bring culture and education to the working-class people of the East End, hence the name. It represents the radical idea that art, beauty, and knowledge belong to everyone, not just the wealthy elite. Stand barefoot, looking at the People's Palace, and say aloud or in a powerful internal voice, "Wealth belongs to the people. Prosperity is my birthright. Abundance flows to me because I'm alive, not because I earned it. I release the belief that I must suffer to deserve prosperity." This affirmation, spoken while grounded on the earth with a view of a building literally named the People's Palace, creates a powerful installation against the most pernicious money block many people carry, the unconscious belief that ordinary people like me don't get to have significant wealth. The palace was built to contradict that belief architecturally. You're using it to contradict that belief neurologically. Practice the full Glasgow Green protocol, the 28-minute barefoot walk plus the discharge movements plus the People's Palace affirmation, weekly, during months when weather permits. During winter, maintain the practice in reduced form, even just standing barefoot on the grass for 5 minutes, followed by the affirmation. Stay connected to the earth year-round, and the earth will keep discharging your scarcity programming before it can crystallize back into rigid patterns. Queen Street Station processes 283,000 passenger movements every week, making it one of the busiest transport hubs in Scotland. This constant flow of arrivals and departures creates what I call a momentum portal, a location where the energy of transition becomes tangible and available for your use. Every person moving through that station is in a moment of change, leaving one place and heading toward another, and that collective transitional energy creates a field effect. When you position yourself intentionally in that field, you can harness the momentum for your own transitions, particularly financial ones. The protocol works best during peak commuter hours, 7:30 to 9 in the morning or 5 to 6:30 in the evening, when the station is full and the momentum energy is strongest. Enter the station and position yourself in the main concourse, not blocking pathways, but standing where you can observe the flow. Take a moment to simply watch the movement around you. Thousands of people, all going somewhere, all in motion. No one is static. Everyone is in the process of departure or arrival. Let yourself feel the momentum, the sense that movement is natural, and staying stuck is actually the anomaly. Now bring your awareness to your financial situation. Where are you now financially, and where do you want to be heading? Not vague wishes, but clear coordinates. You're currently at income level X, and you're heading toward income level Y. You currently have financial habits A, B, and C, and you're transitioning toward habits D, E, and F. You currently serve clients in one category, and you're moving toward a different market. Whatever your specific transition, name it clearly in your mind. You're in the station right now, in the moment between departure and arrival, and your financial reality is making the same journey. As you stand in the momentum field, visualize your financial transition, overlaying the physical departures and arrivals happening around you. Every person boarding a train represents part of your old financial identity departing. Every person arriving represents an aspect of your new financial reality coming in. The constant flow around you is mirroring the flow of your wealth consciousness, shifting from what was to what's becoming. Spend 11 minutes in this visualization, letting the momentum of the station carry your financial transition forward. You're not forcing it. You're aligning with a current that's already moving. Watch the departure boards as trains change status from waiting to departing. Each departure is a metaphor. Your wealth journey is departing now. Not someday, not when you're ready, not when conditions are perfect. Now. The train doesn't wait until all passengers feel completely prepared. It departs on schedule. Your wealth evolution works the same way. The opportunities are departing the station now. You can either board them or watch them leave and wait for the next one. This urgency isn't anxiety, it's appropriate recognition that momentum requires movement, and movement requires decision, and decision requires action, now rather than later. After 11 minutes in the visualization, walk to the east exit of the station and stand just outside the doors. From this position, you can see people both entering and exiting, arriving and departing. You are at the threshold, the liminal space between inside and outside, between old and new. Say quietly but with conviction, "My wealth journey is in motion. I am in transition from scarcity to abundance. I board the opportunities that are departing now. I welcome the prosperity that is arriving now. I trust the momentum carrying me forward." Then turn and walk away from the station without looking back. Don't go back inside. Don't revisit the meditation spot. You've set the momentum. Now move with it. Practice this station protocol during major financial transitions. When you're launching a new business, raise your rates significantly, pursue a major opportunity, or make any other bold financial move. The station's momentum field will support your transition, helping you overcome the inertia and resistance that stops most people from making necessary changes. But don't overuse it. This is for significant transitions, not daily practice. Momentum is powerful precisely because it's directed toward specific change. If you try to use the momentum portal constantly, you'll just create chaos rather than purposeful transition. Let's return briefly to visualization as a standalone practice, separate from the specific attractor points. Close your eyes for a moment. Wherever you are, take a deep breath and let yourself drop into a slightly altered state, that soft focus awareness between waking and dreaming. Now, picture yourself walking down Buchanan Street on a bright afternoon. You're carrying yourself differently than you do in current reality. Your shoulders are back. Your stride is confident. Your face is relaxed. You're not rushing or avoiding eye contact. You're moving through the world like someone who belongs, someone who has resources, someone who deserves good things. As you walk, you notice a shop window displaying something you'd love to have, but would normally dismiss as too expensive. In this visualization, you don't dismiss it. You pause, considering it, and you realize with a quiet knowing that you could buy it if you chose to. Not that you would or should, but that you could. The price isn't a barrier. Your resources are adequate. This realization doesn't make you excited or anxious. It just settles into your body as a simple fact. You could afford this. What else could you afford? As you continue walking, still in the visualization, you let yourself wonder, if price wasn't a limiting factor, what would you choose? How would you spend your time differently? What experiences would you pursue? Let these questions open up possibility without needing to answer them definitively. Just feel the spaciousness of could rather than the contraction of can't. When you're ready, take another deep breath and return to regular awareness. Open your eyes. Notice if something shifted in your body, even slightly. That exercise, practiced regularly, using Glasgow's actual streets as the setting, begins to rewrite the defaults in your nervous system. Your brain learns that this feeling of spaciousness and possibility is available, which makes it more likely to notice and seize opportunities in actual reality that match that feeling. Visualization isn't about creating magical thinking. It's about training your nervous system to recognize and accept states that it currently labels as impossible or dangerous. By repeatedly exposing yourself to the feeling of adequate resources in imagination, you reduce the unconscious resistance to that feeling in reality. The University of Glasgow's campus deserves deeper exploration because it represents a specific flavor of prosperity that often gets overlooked. This is scholar wealth. The prosperity that comes from deep expertise, from becoming genuinely excellent at something, from developing knowledge that others value enough to pay for access to it. The university has been producing scholar wealth for 8 centuries, training people who then go into the world and generate income through intellectual capital, rather than physical labor or routine tasks. This pathway to prosperity is increasingly valuable in an economy being rapidly automated. Tasks that can be reduced to routine steps are being handled by machines and algorithms. What remains valuable is expertise that can't be easily replicated, judgment that comes from years of experience, creativity that emerges from deep domain knowledge. The campus architecture itself communicates this value of intellectual work. The buildings are magnificent, solid, built to last centuries, sending the clear message that what happens here matters, that learning and knowledge creation deserves housing in beautiful, enduring structures. Walk through the main quadrangle and you're walking through a physical argument for the importance of the mind, for the value of study, for the legitimacy of making your living through what you know, rather than what you do with your hands. This isn't about denigrating physical labor. It's about expanding your sense of what valuable work looks like, especially if you've internalized the limiting belief that only certain types of work deserve high compensation. The protocol involves 3 specific courtyards on the campus, each with slightly different energetic signatures. Start with the main quadrangle, the iconic Gothic Revival courtyard that appears in most photos of the university. Enter through the main gate and walk slowly around the perimeter, staying on the covered cloisters. As you walk, read the plaques and memorials on the walls, noting the achievements of alumni and faculty. You're walking through a hall of intellectual accomplishment, surrounded by the residue of hundreds of years of scholarly work. Let yourself absorb the message that the life of the mind is valuable, that study and expertise matter, that you can build a prosperous life through learning and teaching what you've learned. After completing the perimeter walk, find a spot to sit in the quadrangle itself, if weather permits. Take out a notebook and complete this sentence 20 times, writing continuously without thinking too hard. I could build wealth through my expertise in. Let yourself write wild, impractical, or unconventional completions. Don't censor. Maybe you have expertise in video games, in reading people's emotional states, in organizing complex information, in making people laugh, in noticing patterns, in asking good questions. Expertise doesn't mean formal credentials. It means you're better at something than most people because you've spent significant time with it. After 20 completions, review what you wrote. Circle the 3 that feel most energetically alive, the ones that make you lean forward slightly as you read them. The second courtyard is the cloisters at the Hunterian Museum, accessible through the museum building. These medieval-style covered walkways create a contemplative space perfect for the scholar wealth identity work. Walk the cloisters slowly, and as you walk, imagine yourself 5 years from now having built a thriving business or career around one of the 3 expertise areas you circled. Don't worry about the how, just imagine the what. What does your day look like? Who are your clients or customers? What do people pay you for? How much do they pay? How does it feel to generate significant income by simply being excellent at something you've spent years developing? Walk the cloisters for 15 minutes in this imaginative space, letting the identity of scholar wealth settle into your body. The third and final courtyard is the Pierce Lodge Quadrangle, a smaller, quieter space on the south side of campus. This courtyard has fewer tourists and more students, giving it an active scholarly energy rather than the monumental feel of the main quad. Sit here for the final practice, which involves writing your Scholar Wealth Manifesto. Write for 20 minutes in response to this prompt. I claim my right to prosper through intellectual work. My expertise in fill in your chosen area is valuable and deserving of excellent compensation. I will spend the next year deepening my mastery and building structures to monetize this knowledge. Don't write a practical business plan. Write a declaration of intention, a stake in the ground, a commitment to the possibility that you can generate wealth through what you know. Let the 800 years of scholar wealth surrounding you in this campus infuse your words with legitimacy and power. This university protocol, completed quarterly, keeps you connected to the scholar wealth frequency, reminding you that prosperity doesn't require you to become someone else or develop completely different skills. It might just require you to recognize the value of what you already know and build structures that allow others to access that knowledge in exchange for money. Most people sit on valuable expertise without ever considering it as a wealth-building resource. The university helps you see it differently. Consider the story of Jennifer, a 47-year-old accountant who had been earning the same salary, adjusted for inflation, for 8 years. She felt invisible at work, undervalued, stuck in a career that had become routine. She discovered these Glasgow protocols through a friend and initially dismissed them as too strange. But desperation is a powerful motivator, and she was desperate enough to try something completely different from the personal development books that had given her nothing but temporary motivation followed by crushing disappointment. She started with the simplest practice, the Buchanan Street Walk, committing to do it every Sunday morning for a month. The first 2 weeks, she felt foolish, like she was play acting at some spiritual practice she didn't really believe in. But she'd committed to a month, so she kept going. Week 3, something subtle shifted. She found herself in a meeting at work, and instead of her usual pattern of staying quiet and deferring to louder voices, she spoke up with a strategic suggestion. Not because she'd decided to be more assertive, but because the idea emerged and her nervous system didn't activate its usual suppression mechanism. Her suggestion was implemented, saved the company £32,000. And suddenly, she was visible again. By week 6, after adding the Kelvin Grove protocol to her practice, she'd been approached by a headhunter about a position she would have considered out of her league a month earlier. She took the interview without overthinking it, got the offer, and negotiated a salary increase of £48,000 from her current position. When colleagues asked what had changed, she struggled to explain. How do you tell professional people that you'd been walking specific streets and standing in museums to rewire your wealth consciousness? But the results were undeniable, and that's what mattered. Now we come to the integration phase, where all these individual attractor points combine into your custom circuit, your personal prosperity map of Glasgow. You've learned the frequencies available at each location. You've practiced the protocols. You've felt the shifts in your nervous system, subtle or dramatic. Now you're designing a sustainable rotation that keeps you in consistent contact with these fields without overwhelming your schedule or making the practice burdensome. The goal is integration, not obsession. You're weaving these locations into your life in a way that feels natural and supportive rather than like another obligation you're failing to meet. Start by identifying your anchor location, the attractor point, that feels most powerful for you personally. This is subjective. For some people, the Buchanan Street Meridian provides the strongest recalibration. For others, it's Kelvin Grove's Alpha Bridge States or the Cathedral's Intention Amplification. Review your experiences with each location. Which one created the most noticeable shift in your state? Which one do you find yourself wanting to return to? That's your anchor. This becomes your primary location, the one you visit most frequently, ideally weekly. Your anchor serves as your baseline maintenance, the practice that prevents frequency backsliding between more intensive work at other sites. Next, tier the remaining locations based on your schedule and proximity. Group them into primary, secondary, and quarterly practices. Primary locations might be those you visit twice monthly. Secondary locations might be monthly visits. Quarterly practices are those deep dives at places like the Cathedral or the Full Merchant City Abundance Archaeology Walk that take significant time and work better when you treat them as special occasions rather than routine. There's no single correct way to structure this. Your life, your schedule, your proximity to different parts of Glasgow, all factor in. The circuit has to work for you, practically, or you won't maintain it. Let me walk you through a comprehensive 90-day protocol with specific day-by-day practices that will transform your wealth consciousness through systematic exposure to Glasgow's attractor fields. This isn't vague guidance. This is your exact roadmap for the next 3 months, designed to create permanent neurological changes in how your system processes financial information and opportunity. Week 1 is baseline establishment. On day 1, Monday, visit Buchanan Street in the morning before the crowds arrive. Walk the full meridian from Royal Concert Hall to St. Enoch Center without any protocol, just observing. How does the street feel to your nervous system right now before you begin intensive work? Rate the feeling on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is heavy, contracted, and scarcity-focused, and 10 is light, expansive, and abundance-oriented. Write this number in your journal along with 3 words describing your current financial emotional state. On day 2, Tuesday, visit the Clyde at the Clyde Arc location. Again, no protocol. Just stand there for 10 minutes and notice how your body responds to the water, the space, the energy. Rate it 1 to 10 and note 3 observations about your financial mindset today. Day 3, Wednesday, go to Kelvin Grove. Walk through the central hall and into a few galleries. Don't do the full protocol. Just notice what the space evokes in you. Rate and record. Day 4, Thursday, visit Merchant City. Walk through the district without the building-touching protocol. Just observe the architecture, the vibe, the residual energy. Rate and record. Day 5, Friday, go to Glasgow Green during your lunch break, if possible. Stand on the grass in your shoes. Don't do the barefoot protocol yet. Just feel the space. Rate and record. Day 6, Saturday, visit the West End. Have coffee on Ashton Lane or Byers Road. Observe the creative prosperity frequency without trying to absorb it yet. Rate and record. Day 7, Sunday, rest and review. Read through your 6 days of observations. Notice which locations pulled you and which ones felt neutral or resistant. This diagnostic week shows you exactly where your work needs to focus. Week 2 begins the real installation. Day 8, Monday, return to Buchanan Street and perform the full meridian walk protocol. 4 count breathing, moderate pace, synchronizing breath to steps, intention setting at the start. Pause at the midpoint, energetic center. Completion intention at St. Enoch. Afterward, journal for 10 minutes about what you noticed that was different from your baseline visit. Day 9, Tuesday, rest day. But journal on this prompt for 15 minutes. What would my life look like if I truly believed I deserve significant wealth? Don't censor. Don't be realistic. Just write. Day 10, Wednesday, Buchanan Street walk again. Yes, again. You're installing the meridian as your neural pathway. This time, add a new element. As you walk, consciously smile slightly, lifting the corners of your mouth even if you don't feel happy. This facial feedback triggers neurological changes that support approach motivation. Day 11, Thursday. Visit Kelvin Grove for the full 37-minute protocol. Central Hall 7 minutes looking up, first painting 9 minutes, geology display 6 minutes, observer bench 15 minutes. Time this precisely. Journal afterward about any insights that emerged during the Alpha Bridge state. Day 12, Friday, Buchanan Street walk again. 3rd time this week. You're building automaticity, training your nervous system to associate this route with prosperity consciousness. Today, add a gratitude element. As you walk, silently thank specific things you notice. Thank the architecture for beauty. Thank the people for their energy. Thank the shops for abundance. Thank yourself for showing up. Day 13, Saturday. Visit the Clyde for the full 3-point protocol. Clyde Arc 11 minutes with fluidity breathing. Riverside Museum 11 minutes in integration stance. Pacific Key 11 minutes of future self-walking. This is a 90-minute commitment. Treat it as sacred. Bring water. Dress for weather. Protect this time. Day 14, Sunday. Rest but do this practice. Lie down somewhere comfortable, close your eyes, and mentally walk through every location you visited this week. Visualize yourself at each spot, performing each protocol, feeling each shift. This mental rehearsal strengthens the neural pathways you're building. Your brain processes vivid visualization almost identically to actual experience. Week 3 introduces expansion and variation. Day 15, Monday, Buchanan. Street walk, but this time, go in the opposite direction, starting at St. Enoch and walking north to Royal Concert Hall. The reversed perspective creates different neural activation. Notice what you see that you missed walking south. Day 16, Tuesday. Visit Merchant City for the full 7 Building Abundance Archaeology Protocol. Trades Hall, Cunningham Mansion, Virginia Mansion, Hutchison's Hall, Lanarkshire House, Ramshorn Kirk, City Halls. 60 seconds of hand contact at each, with clear intention setting. This is 90 minutes plus walking time between buildings. Bring a water bottle and comfortable shoes. Day 17, Wednesday. Return to Kelvin Grove, but skip the full protocol. Instead, spend 90 minutes just wandering the galleries with soft focus attention, not trying to accomplish anything, just being in the frequency field. Let serendipity guide which exhibits you visit. Trust that your unconscious mind is doing integration work beneath your awareness. Day 18, Thursday, Buchanan Street. Walk again, but today make it a prosperity sensory meditation. As you walk, engage each sense deliberately. What do you see that represents abundance? What sounds of commerce and exchange do you hear? What smells from cafes and shops? If you buy a coffee, really taste it. Feel the textures of your clothing, the air on your skin. Embodied sensory presence amplifies frequency entrainment. Day 19, Friday. Visit Glasgow Cathedral for the full 19-minute Quantum Intention Protocol. Prepare your specific intention before you arrive. Write it down in clear, present tense language. Visualize it vividly, compress it to a point of light, release it through the cathedral's amplification field. Then detach completely. After leaving, do not think about the intention for the rest of the day. Distraction is part of the magic. Day 20, Saturday, go to the West End for the full immersion protocol. Ashton Lane Cafe Session. Minimum 1 hour, observing creative prosperity. Then the walk-up Byers Road, noticing the niche businesses. Then University Courtyard with the 20 completions of the expertise sentence. Then the Scholar Wealth Manifesto writing. This is a 3 to 4 hour commitment. Make a day of it. Enjoy it. Day 21, Sunday, complete rest. No protocols, no visits. Let your nervous system integrate 3 weeks of intensive frequency work. Sleep extra if possible. Drink more water than usual. Your neurology is rewiring, which requires rest for consolidation. Week 4 deepens the embodiment work. Day 22. Monday, Buchanan Street. Walk with a new element. Today you're going to walk it as if you were already the prosperous version of yourself 5 years from now. Embody that person's posture, pace, facial expression, energy. How does future wealthy you walk down this street? Channel that version and let your body teach your mind what that consciousness feels like. Day 23, Tuesday, visit the Finiston Crane for the full protocol. Find the optimal viewing position. Spend 5 minutes visualizing your wealth structure using the crane as inspiration for thinking at scale. Then do 3 minutes in builder stance with the affirmations. Then take your anchor photo. Journal afterward about what builder consciousness feels like in your body versus your previous default mode. Day 24, Wednesday. Go to Queen Street Station during peak commuter hours. Perform the full 11-minute momentum portal visualization, overlaying your financial transition with the physical arrivals and departures around you. Stand at the threshold afterward and speak your momentum affirmations. Then walk away without looking back. Day 25, Thursday. Return to Glasgow Green for the full barefoot earthing protocol. 28 minutes of barefoot walking with periodic tremoring discharge movements. Then the view of People's Palace with your birthright affirmations. Really let yourself feel the earth supporting you without question, without judgment, without requiring that you earn it. This unconditional support is the metaphor for universal abundance. Day 26, Friday, Buchanan Street walk again, but this time bring a voice recorder or use your phone. As you walk, speak aloud your observations, your intentions, your commitments. Hearing your own voice declaring your prosperity intentions creates a different level of commitment than silent, internal dialogue. Later, you can listen to this recording when you need encouragement. Day 27, Saturday. Visit the University of Glasgow for the full 3-courtyard protocol. Main quadrangle perimeter walk, reading the achievement plaques, then sitting to complete the expertise sentence 20 times. Then Hunterian Cloisters 15-minute walk, imagining your scholar wealth future. Then Pierce Lodge, 20-minute manifesto writing. Bring a good notebook for this. The manifesto you write today might become a foundational document you return to for years. Day 28, Sunday. Integration review. Spend an hour with your journal reviewing the entire 4 weeks. Read every entry. Notice patterns. What locations created the biggest shifts? What practices felt most powerful? What resistance came up? What excuses did you use on days you almost didn't show up? Understanding your patterns prepares you for the longer haul ahead. Week 5 is where many people hit their first major resistance. The novelty has worn off, and you're not yet seeing dramatic external results, though internal shifts are absolutely happening. This is the danger zone for quitting. Day 29, Monday, Buchanan Street walk, and today you're going to address the resistance directly. As you walk, acknowledge every doubt, every skeptical thought, every voice saying this is pointless. Thank each doubt for trying to protect you, then consciously choose to continue anyway. Not because you have proof it's working, but because you committed to 90 days and you keep your commitments to yourself. This practice of honoring your word to yourself is its own wealth practice. Day 30, Tuesday. Visit the Clyde and do something different. Instead of the 3-point protocol, just sit on a bench by the river for 30 minutes. Watch the water flow. Let your mind wander. Don't try to do anything spiritual or transformative. Just be with the river like you're being with an old friend. Sometimes the most powerful practice is simply showing up without agenda. Day 31, Wednesday, Kelvin Grove visit, but make it pure enjoyment. Forget the protocols. Go see your favorite artworks. Spend time with pieces that move you aesthetically. Buy a coffee in the cafe. Sit and people watch. Remember that these locations aren't just tools. They're also genuinely beautiful places worth experiencing for their own sake. Day 32, Thursday, Buchanan Street walk. Back to full protocol. You've had a gentler few days. Now return to structure. Breath synchronized with steps. Intention setting. Midpoint pause. Completion statement. Notice how the structure feels supportive after a few days of less formal practice. Day 33, Friday, Merchant City visit. But instead of the full 7-building protocol, choose 3 buildings that called to you most strongly in your previous visit. Spend 5 minutes at each instead of 60 seconds. Really sink into the connection. Quality over quantity today. Day 34, Saturday, West End immersion, but make it social if possible. Bring a friend, not necessarily someone doing these protocols, just someone whose energy you enjoy. Have coffee together on Ashton Lane. Walk Byers Road together. Visit the university together. Let them wonder why you wanted to spend the day in the West End. You don't have to explain the work you're doing. Just let their presence add another layer to your experience. Prosperity isn't solitary. It's relational. Practice being prosperous in community, even if they don't know that's what you're doing. Day 35, Sunday. Rest and do this reflection. Write for 30 minutes on this prompt. What scares me most about becoming significantly wealthier? This question surfaces the unconscious resistance that sabotages most people's prosperity. Your fears might include losing friends who earn less, becoming a target for judgment, or requests for money, having to manage complexity you feel unqualified to handle, losing your identity as the underdog or struggling artist. Whatever emerges, write it without judgment. Awareness of your wealth fears is the first step to dismantling them. Week 6 introduces challenge, escalation. Day 36, Monday, Buchanan Street Walk. But today, you're raising the stakes. Set an intention that feels uncomfortable in its boldness. If you've been intending 6-figure income, intend 7 figures. If you've been intending financial stability, intend extravagant abundance. Push past your comfort zone. Let your nervous system feel the discomfort of claiming something bigger. That discomfort is the edge of your current set point. You're here to push that edge. Day 37, Tuesday, visit Glasgow Cathedral for your second Quantum Intention broadcast. This time, your intention should be even bolder than your first visit. The cathedral can handle it. The quantum field can handle it. The question is whether you can handle claiming it. Compress your vision to a point of light and release it with even more trust than last time. Day 38, Wednesday. Go to the Finiston Crane and do the Builder Consciousness Protocol. But today, add this element. After your 3 minutes in builder stance, walk directly toward the crane, getting as close as you can to its base. Stand there looking up at its full height, towering above you. Feel the audacity of the people who designed and built this. Let that audacity infect you. Say aloud or very firmly in your mind, I build wealth at this scale. I think this big. I don't apologize. Day 39, Thursday, Clyde Riverbank Protocol. But today, you're going to add cold water exposure if weather and safety permit. After your 3-point protocol, find a place where you can safely put your hands in the river water for 30 seconds. Cold water creates a beneficial stress response that increases resilience and activates brown fat. But more importantly, for our purposes, it's a pattern interrupt. The shock of cold water breaks habitual thinking patterns and creates a moment of pure presence. In that moment of presence, set a clear intention. Let the cold water carry away any remaining scarcity patterns. Day 40, Friday, return to Glasgow Green, but this time extend the earthing protocol to 45 minutes if weather allows. Really let yourself discharge. Do the tremoring movements every 5 minutes. Make sounds. Move energy through your body. Let any emotion that wants to surface come up and move through. Cry if tears come. Laugh if joy comes. Anger, grief, fear, excitement, whatever's been stored in your tissues around money, let the earth help you discharge it. Day 41, Saturday, University of Glasgow. Visit with a specific assignment. Today, you're going to find one current student or faculty member and have a conversation. Ask them about their work, their research, their studies. Be genuinely curious. Let yourself absorb the intellectual wealth frequency through direct contact with someone actively engaged in scholarship. You're practicing seeing expertise as valuable, seeing knowledge work as legitimate wealth creation. Day 42, Sunday, conduct your first mini-assessment. Rate your current wealth consciousness 1 to 10, same scale as day 1. Compare it to your baseline. Journal on these questions. What's different in how I think about money now versus 6 weeks ago? What actions have I taken that I wouldn't have taken before? What opportunities have appeared? What synchronicities have I noticed? Be specific and evidence-based. This isn't about forcing yourself to see results that aren't there. It's about noticing the real shifts that are happening beneath the dramatic before and after transformation story. Let me tell you about David, a 51-year-old tradesman who had built a decent plumbing business but felt trapped by the ceiling of what he could earn trading hours for pounds. He discovered these protocols during a holiday in Glasgow and decided to treat them like a 90-day experiment. He's a practical man, skeptical of anything that sounds too mystical, but he's also a man who understands that repeating the same actions produces the same results, and his results had plateaued. By week 6 of his practice, he hadn't seen major external changes, but he noticed something internal. He was less reactive when clients pushed back on his quotes. Instead of immediately offering discounts to secure the work, he found himself calmly explaining the value and letting clients decide. To his surprise, his close rate didn't drop. In fact, 3 clients who initially balked came back and accepted his full price because his quiet confidence made them trust his expertise more. By week 10, he hired his first employee, something he'd been too afraid to do for years. By week 16, after completing the full 90-day protocol and continuing with maintenance practices, he had restructured his entire business model. He was training other plumbers in specialized techniques he'd mastered, earning income from teaching rather than just doing the work himself. His annual revenue increased by £90,000 in that first year, and it came from embodying the scholar wealth frequency he'd absorbed during his University of Glasgow visits. He stopped seeing himself as just a tradesman and started recognizing that his 25 years of experience had value beyond the specific pipes he could fix. Week 7 brings consolidation and refinement. Day 43, Monday, Buchanan Street Walk with this variation. Today you're going to practice invisible prosperity. Walk the meridian embodying complete financial abundance internally while maintaining a totally ordinary external presentation. No designer clothes, no flashy anything, just quiet internal knowing that you're wealthy. This practice teaches you that prosperity is an inside job, not a performance for others. Day 44, Tuesday, visit Kelvin Grove for a shortened protocol. Instead of 37 minutes, spend 20. Just the central hall and your favorite painting. You're learning to get the frequency hit more efficiently. The protocols I've given you are optimal, but life isn't always optimal. Sometimes 20 minutes is what you have, and 20 minutes with full presence is more valuable than 60 minutes of distracted going through motions. Day 45, Wednesday, Merchant City Walk. But today you're looking for new buildings. The 7 I gave you are powerful, but the entire district is an abundance archaeology site. Walk with your hand as a sensor. When you pass a building that calls to you, stop and place your hand on it. Set your intention. Receive what it offers. You're learning to trust your own guidance now, not just follow external protocols. Day 46, Thursday, Queen Street Station Momentum Portal. But today, arrive without a specific transition in mind. Just stand in the field and see what arises. Sometimes your unconscious mind knows what transition you need before your conscious mind catches up. Trust what emerges. Day 47, Friday, Buchanan Street Walk, full protocol, recommitting to the structure that works. Day 48, Saturday, design your custom circuit. Based on 7 weeks of experience, create your ideal rotation for the next 3 months. Which locations do you visit weekly? Which monthly? Which quarterly? Write it in your calendar. Make it real. Day 49, Sunday. Complete rest. You're halfway through the 90 days. Your nervous system has been working hard. Honor that with genuine downtime. Week 8 escalates to advanced practices. Day 50, Monday, Buchanan Street Walk. But this time you're going to do it in total silence, both external and internal. No music, no podcasts, no internal narration, just pure sensory presence. Notice how much mental energy you usually spend maintaining narrative about your experience. What happens when you drop the narrative and just be present with the sensations? Day 51, Tuesday, Clyde Riverbank visit where you're going to practice active gratitude at a deeper level. At each of the 3 points, spend your 11 minutes in gratitude for specific financial blessings you already have. This isn't toxic positivity denying real struggles. This is conscious attention on what's working, which trains your reticular activating system to find more of what's working. Day 52, Wednesday, West End immersion with a spending practice. Bring enough money to buy something genuinely nice for yourself. Not extravagant, but more than you'd normally spend. A beautiful journal, a quality tea or coffee, a book from a local shop, something that feels like a treat. Practice receiving pleasure from spending money. Many people with scarcity consciousness have a contracted, anxious relationship with spending. They can't enjoy purchases because they're always calculating what else they could have done with the money. Today, you practice pleasure in exchange, recognizing that spending money on things that genuinely enhance your life is part of wealth consciousness, not opposed to it. Day 53, Thursday, Glasgow Cathedral, third quantum intention. And this time your intention is about who you're becoming, not just what you're getting. Don't broadcast a wish list. Broadcast an identity. I am someone who generates multiple income streams effortlessly. I am someone who makes excellent financial decisions quickly. I am someone who attracts lucrative opportunities. I'm someone whose prosperity lifts others. Identity intentions are more powerful than outcome intentions because identity determines behavior, and behavior creates outcomes. Day 54, Friday, Finiston Crane, visit where you spend extra time after the protocol just sitting inside of the crane and journaling on this question. What do I need to build in the next 6 months that I've been avoiding because it seems too ambitious? Let builder consciousness answer, not your scared practical mind. Day 55, Saturday, Glasgow Green, extended earthing session, 60 minutes if possible. Bring a blanket, lie on the grass, let your whole body make contact with earth. This is deep grounding, discharging weeks of accumulated intensity. Let yourself drift. Nap if sleep comes. You're not wasting time. You're allowing integration at the cellular level. Day 56 Sunday, review week and prepare for the final push. You have approximately 5 weeks left in your 90-day intensive. Journal on this. What breakthrough do I most want to create in these final weeks? Name it specifically. This becomes your focus for the home stretch. Week 9 intensifies focus on the breakthrough you named. Day 57, Monday. Buchanan Street Walk dedicated specifically to your chosen breakthrough. As you walk, visualize it as already accomplished. Feel what it feels like in your body to have this breakthrough complete. Day 58, Tuesday. Visit the location that feels most aligned with your breakthrough. Need confidence? Cathedral. Need creative solution? Kelvin Grove. Need momentum? Queen Street. Need release of blocks? Glasgow Green. Let the attractor point support your specific focus. Day 59, Wednesday. Merchant City Walk, where you're consciously claiming the audacity of the tobacco lords for your breakthrough. Yes, their wealth came from morally compromised trade, but their sheer nerve, their willingness to build empires. That frequency you can borrow ethically. Place your hands on the buildings and ask for the transmission of audacity without the moral compromise. Day 60, Thursday, Clyde Protocol dedicated to releasing any final resistance to your breakthrough. What are you still holding on to that prevents this breakthrough from manifesting? Name it at each of the 3 points and consciously release it into the flowing water. Day 61, Friday, Buchanan Street Walk, where you practice receiving your breakthrough. Walk as if it has already happened, and you're walking in gratitude for its manifestation. Embody the after state. Day 62, Saturday, West End immersion, where you surround yourself with examples of breakthrough success. Every thriving niche business on Buyers Road is someone's breakthrough manifested. Every PhD candidate at the university is someone in the middle of an intellectual breakthrough. Let yourself absorb the frequency of breakthrough as normal, as happening all around you, as available to you. Day 63, Sunday. Write a letter to yourself from the version of you who has experienced the breakthrough. What does future you want present you to know? What encouragement does future you offer? What evidence does future you provide that the breakthrough was possible all along? Keep this letter. Read it when doubt creeps in during the final weeks. Week 10 is about surrender and trust. Day 64, Monday. Buchanan Street Walk, where you practice paradoxical intention. Walk the meridian while consciously letting go of attachment to your breakthrough. Hold the intention, but release the grip. Want it, but don't need it. Desire it, but don't depend on it. This paradox is where manifestation actually happens. Attachment collapses possibility. Detached intention allows possibility to materialize. Day 65, Tuesday. Spend 30 minutes at any attractor point you choose, just sitting in appreciation. No protocol, no agenda, just gratitude for these locations, for this practice, for your commitment, for the shifts that have occurred whether you consciously register them yet or not. Day 66, Wednesday. Kelvin Grove visit, where you consciously practice receiving downloads without trying. Just wander the galleries in soft focus. Be available, but not hunting. Trust that your unconscious is receiving exactly what you need, even if your conscious mind doesn't recognize it. Day 67, Thursday Cathedral visit. But today, you're not broadcasting an intention. You're listening for one. Sit in your designated spot for 19 minutes and simply listen. What wants to emerge through you? What's trying to be born through your life and work? What is the universe attempting to create through you as an instrument? Listen without judgment or analysis. Day 68, Friday Buchanan Street Walk as meditation, focusing only on breath and footfall. 4 counts in, 4 counts out, synchronized with steps. Nothing else. Let everything else go. Day 69, Saturday, create a celebration practice. Visit your favorite 3 attractor points in one day. Don't do full protocols. Just visit like you're saying hello to dear friends. Spend 20 minutes at each. Thank them. Appreciate them. Acknowledge the transformation happening through your consistent engagement with these frequencies. Day 70, Sunday. Rest completely. No practices. No journaling about wealth. No thinking about money. Watch something that makes you laugh. Spend time with people you love. Remember that you're a whole human being, and wealth consciousness is in service to your life, not the other way around. Week 11 brings practical application. Day 71, Monday, Buchanan Street Walk, followed by an immediate action. Before the day ends, take one concrete action aligned with your wealth intentions. Send an email, make a call, adjust a rate, research an opportunity, something tangible. Frequency work without action is incomplete. Day 72, Tuesday, Clyde visit followed by another action. The protocols are changing your internal frequency. Now you're learning to translate that internal shift into external behavior. This is where results materialize, in the gap between new consciousness and aligned action. Day 73, Wednesday, Glasgow Green, earthing followed by another action. Day 74, Thursday, Kelvin Grove visit followed by another action. You're building a new habit. Frequency recalibration leads immediately to inspired action. This becomes automatic. Day 75, Friday, Buchanan Street Walk, followed by reviewing the 5 actions you've taken this week. How did they feel different from actions you would have taken 3 months ago? Notice the quality of energy behind them. Less forcing, more flow. Less anxiety, more confidence. This is the shift. Day 76, Saturday. University of Glasgow visit where you specifically work on your scholar wealth identity. After the 3-courtyard protocol, spend an additional hour in a cafe on campus writing about your expertise. What do you know that others would benefit from learning? How could you package that knowledge? What would it look like to build a revenue stream around teaching what you know? Be specific. Day 77, Sunday. Conduct your second mini-assessment. Same questions as day 42. What's different now? What evidence do you have of internal shifts? What external results have appeared, even small ones? Compare this assessment to your day 42 assessment and to your original baseline. The arc of change becomes visible when you look back across weeks. Week 12 begins the completion phase. Day 78, Monday. Buchanan Street Walk, where you acknowledge how far you've come. 11 weeks ago, you started this practice. You've shown up consistently, even when it felt strange, even when you weren't sure it was working, even when life was busy and you had reasonable excuses to skip. You've kept your commitment. That is prosperity consciousness. That is wealth identity. The external results are coming, but the internal identity shift is already complete. Day 79, Tuesday, visit your original anchor location, the first place that really resonated with you. Return there and simply sit for 30 minutes. Notice how your relationship with this place has evolved. What felt mysterious is now familiar. What felt challenging is now easeful. You've changed, and your perception of the place reflects that change. Day 80, Wednesday. Merchant City Walk, where you consciously claim your prosperity inheritance. These buildings, this wealth consciousness embedded in stone, it's yours now. You've done the work to receive it. You've placed your hands on these walls week after week. The download is complete. Walk through Merchant City today, owning your status as heir to this abundance frequency. Day 81, Thursday, Clyde Protocol, with a completion focus. At each of the 3 points, instead of release or integration or future visioning, simply state, I am complete with scarcity consciousness. I am established in abundance frequency. I trust my capacity to generate and maintain significant wealth. Say it with finality. Mean it. Day 82, Friday Buchanan Street Walk as Victory Lap. You've walked this meridian countless times over 3 months. Today, walk it in celebration. Smile. Make eye contact with people. Radiate the frequency you've been installing. Let it pour through you onto this street. Day 83, Saturday, conduct a full circuit completion. Visit all 11 primary locations in one day. Spend at least 15 minutes at each. This is your graduation ceremony, your acknowledgement that you've completed intensive training in wealth frequency navigation. Make it special. Dress well. Bring good coffee. Take photos. Document the day. This is a threshold. Day 84, Sunday. Integration rest. The 90-day intensive is complete. Your work now is to let the seeds you've planted germinate beneath the surface. Rest in trust. Your nervous system is consolidating 3 months of frequency recalibration. Support that process with rest, hydration, good food, gentle movement, and patience. The harvest is coming, but harvest doesn't happen the day after planting. Trust the timing. Week 13 and beyond moves into maintenance mode. You've completed the intensive. Now you're establishing the sustainable practices that will maintain your elevated wealth set point for years to come. Your weekly minimum is simple. 1 anchor location visit. Ideally, Buchanan Street, unless you've discovered a different primary anchor. This weekly practice is non-negotiable. It's your prosperity hygiene, like brushing your teeth. You do it whether you feel like it or not because you're maintaining an important system. Your monthly practice includes at least 2 additional Attractor point visits, choosing locations based on what you need. Feeling stuck? Queen Street Momentum Portal. Feeling scattered? Cathedral Coherence. Feeling contracted? Glasgow Green. Earthing. Feeling disconnected from creativity? West End Immersion. You now have a full toolkit. Use the tools as needed. Your quarterly practice is the full circuit day, visiting all 11 locations in a single intensive session, reassessing your relationship with each, updating your protocols based on your evolution, and setting intentions for the next quarter. These quarterly intensives prevent backsliding and provide checkpoints for measuring progress. Now let's address the inevitable resistance and backsliding with specific strategies. You will lose the frequency sometimes. Life will intervene. You'll get sick or travel or face a crisis that consumes your attention. You'll skip your weekly anchor visit once, then twice. Then suddenly it's been a month and you've lost your connection to the practice. Or you'll maintain the physical practice of visiting locations, but you'll be going through motions, without presence, checking boxes without engaging the frequencies. Both scenarios require intervention. Here's your specific relapse recognition checklist. First warning sign: you've missed 3 consecutive anchor location visits without rescheduling. Second warning sign: you walk past attractor points during normal life and feel nothing. No recognition, no pull, no memory of their significance. Third warning sign: your internal dialogue about money has reverted to old patterns. You hear yourself thinking, "I can't afford that," or "that's not for people like me," without catching and correcting the thought. Fourth warning sign: opportunities that would have excited you when you were in frequency now trigger suspicion or overwhelm. Fifth warning sign: you've stopped taking bold actions and reverted to playing small, choosing safety over growth. Sixth warning sign: your body carries chronic tension again, particularly in shoulders, jaw, or belly. Seventh warning sign: you've stopped journaling about your wealth practice and can't remember the last time you consciously worked with any protocol. If you recognize 3 or more of these signs, you're in relapse and you need emergency intervention immediately. The emergency recalibration protocol is intensive but effective. Day 1 of your intervention: visit your anchor location and perform a triple session. Do your normal protocol 3 times in a row with 5-minute breaks between. This might mean walking Buchanan Street 3 times consecutively, or spending 2 hours at Kelvin Grove going through the Alpha Bridge protocol 3 complete cycles. This extended exposure is necessary to break through the frequency static you've accumulated. Day 2, visit your second strongest attractor point and do a double session. 2 complete protocols with a break between. Day 3, visit the Clyde and do the full 3-point protocol with extended time at each point. Instead of 11 minutes per point, spend 20 minutes at each. You need the river's fluidity to dissolve the crystallization that happened during your backslide. Day 4, return to your anchor location for a single session, but add this element. Before you begin the protocol, speak aloud or write down everything that pulled you away from practice. Every excuse you used, every rationalization, name it all. Then consciously forgive yourself. You're human. You lose connection sometimes. Forgiveness isn't weakness. It's the prerequisite for beginning again. Then do your normal protocol. Day 5, visit Glasgow Green and spend 60 minutes barefoot, focusing entirely on discharge. Do the tremoring movements every 10 minutes. Really let yourself shake off the accumulated tension and frequency static. Make sounds, move, let emotion flow. This is detox. Day 6, visit Glasgow Cathedral and do the quantum intention protocol. But this time, your intention is about recommitment. I am fully recommitted to my prosperity frequency work. I choose consistency over perfection. I honor my relationship with these attractor points as sacred. I trust my capacity to maintain elevated wealth consciousness through practice. Broadcast this intention and then detach. Day 7. Complete your emergency recalibration with a Buchanan Street walk, where you simply say thank you repeatedly as you walk. Thank you for being here for me. Thank you for giving me another chance. Thank you for the frequencies that remain available regardless of how long I've been away. Thank you for my capacity to begin again. Gratitude completes the recalibration and reestablishes your connection to the abundance frequency. After completing your 7-day emergency protocol, immediately reinstate your minimum maintenance schedule. Weekly anchor visits resume the following Sunday. The backslide taught you something important about your weak points. Maybe you need a more robust calendar system with alerts. Maybe you need an accountability partner. Maybe you need to lower the bar on your weekly minimum, choosing a 10-minute protocol instead of 30 if time is genuinely constrained. Adapt, but don't abandon. The practice works, but only when you work the practice. Let me share the story of Patricia, a 39-year-old artist who completed the 90-day intensive and experienced significant shifts. Her income increased by £31,000 in the year following her intensive as her artwork began selling at higher prices and she secured 2 commissioned murals. But in year 2, life threw her multiple challenges. Her father got sick, requiring frequent hospital visits. Her relationship ended. She moved flats twice. Her art practice suffered, and so did her wealth frequency work. She stopped visiting the attractor points. She told herself she'd return when life settled down, but life kept throwing more challenges. By month 6 of her hiatus, she recognized she was in full backslide. Her income had dropped back almost to pre-protocol levels. Her self-talk was harsh and scarcity-focused. She felt heavy and anxious in ways she hadn't felt during her 90-day practice. She made the decision to implement the emergency recalibration protocol even though she felt she didn't have time. 7 consecutive days of intensive attractor point work. It was hard. She was tired, grieving, stressed. But she did it anyway because she recognized she couldn't afford not to. By day 4, she felt the shift beginning. Her body started to remember. The frequencies began cutting through the static. By day 7, she felt reconnected, not back to peak frequency, but back in relationship with the practice. She reinstated her weekly minimum, and within 2 months, her income began rising again. Within 6 months, she'd surpassed her previous peak. She learned the crucial lesson. The practice isn't something you do when life is easy. The practice is what allows you to navigate life's challenges from an empowered frequency rather than a collapsed one. The attractor points don't disappear during crisis. They remain available, offering frequency recalibration exactly when you need it most. Your long-term sustainability requires building in prevention strategies that reduce the likelihood of backsliding before it happens. Strategy 1 is habit stacking. Attach your anchor location visit to an existing weekly routine that never gets skipped. Maybe you do grocery shopping every Sunday. Bucket Street becomes part of your Sunday morning routine, something you do before shopping. Attaching the new habit to an established one dramatically increases compliance. Strategy 2 is calendar automation. Set recurring events in your calendar for every practice with alerts that go off the day before and the morning of. Treat these calendar events like doctor's appointments you wouldn't casually cancel. Strategy 3 is visible reminders. Set one of your attractor point photos as your phone wallpaper, rotating to a different location monthly. Every time you unlock your phone, you see the reminder of your commitment. Strategy 4 is accountability partnership. Find one other person, either someone also doing these protocols, or just someone who supports your growth, and commit to checking in weekly about your practice. Knowing someone will ask increases follow through. Strategy 5 is results tracking. Keep a simple spreadsheet or journal entry at the end of each month documenting your wealth indicators. Income, savings, opportunities pursued, bold actions taken, emotional baseline around money. When you can see the correlation between consistent practice and improved indicators, you're motivated to maintain the practice. Strategy 6 is making it pleasurable. Your practice should never feel like punishment or obligation. If Buchanan Street walks feel like drudgery, you'll quit eventually. Find ways to make the practice enjoyable. Bring excellent coffee. Wear clothes that make you feel good. Choose weather and timing that work for you rather than forcing yourself to practice in conditions that feel miserable. The practice should feel like self-care, not self-improvement drudgery. Another layer of sustainability comes from recognizing that the protocols will evolve as you evolve. The specific practices I've given you are starting points, not permanent templates. As you develop your relationship with Glasgow's frequencies, you'll discover your own variations and innovations. Maybe you'll find that combining the Buchanan Street walk with a West End immersion in one longer session works better for your energy. Maybe you'll discover a new building in Merchant City that resonates more powerfully than one of the original 7. Maybe you'll develop a relationship with a different water feature along the Clyde. Trust your intuition as it develops. The protocols are training wheels. Eventually, you'll be riding freestyle, creating practices that emerge from your direct knowing rather than from following external instructions. This graduation from student to practitioner is part of the maturity process. You're not just learning to follow someone else's prosperity map. You're learning to read Glasgow's frequencies directly and create your own navigation system. The community aspect of this work deserves attention. While the protocols can be practiced solo, there's something powerful about knowing others are engaging the same frequencies. If you discover even one other person doing this work, consider creating simple rituals together. Maybe once monthly, you meet at a designated attractor point and practice together. Or maybe you simply text each other after completing your weekly anchor visits, a brief check-in that says, "I showed up, I did the work." This lightweight accountability often makes the difference between maintaining practice and letting it slide. If you're more extroverted, consider organizing small group walks of Buchanan Street, not explaining the full protocol, but simply inviting friends to walk with you, allowing them to benefit from the meridian frequency even without understanding the mechanism. You become a frequency ambassador, raising the vibration of everyone in your sphere through your own embodied practice. As you approach the end of your first 90 days and move into long-term maintenance, take time to acknowledge the full scope of what you've accomplished. You've dedicated 3 months to systematic neurological rewiring through environmental entrainment. You've exposed your nervous system to 11 different prosperity frequencies across dozens of sessions. You've walked hundreds of miles, touched centuries-old stone, sat in contemplation for hours, performed protocols that probably felt strange and unfamiliar at first. You've kept commitments to yourself even when you weren't sure it was working. You've invested time, energy, and faith in a practice that's completely outside mainstream approaches to wealth building. That commitment is evidence of your transformation before any external results manifest. The willingness to try something different, to practice consistently despite uncertainty, to trust in frequencies you can't see with your eyes, this willingness is prosperity consciousness. You've already become someone different from who you were 90 days ago. The external results will continue to unfold over the months and years following your intensive. Income increases often lag behind consciousness shifts by 3 to 6 months. The person you are becoming through this practice is creating a future that can't yet see. Stay consistent with your maintenance practices and watch what emerges. Opportunities you wouldn't have noticed before will suddenly seem obvious. Conversations that would have intimidated you will feel natural. Prices you would have flinched at will seem reasonable. Risks you would have avoided will feel appropriate. These aren't personality changes. These are frequency changes, shifts in what your nervous system accepts as possible and safe. Your transformation promise, the commitment at the heart of this practice, is that consistent engagement with Glasgow's energetic attractor points creates measurable, sustainable shifts in your financial consciousness and external circumstances. Not through magic, not through wishful thinking, not through positive affirmations alone, but through the proven mechanisms of environmental entrainment. neurological plasticity, frequency resonance, and embodied practice. Your nervous system is an antenna capable of receiving and transmitting different frequencies. For most of your life, it's been tuned to scarcity, picking up and broadcasting lack, limitation, and fear around resources. These 90 days have retuned your antenna to prosperity frequencies. You're now picking up and broadcasting abundance, possibility, and confidence around resources. The world responds to what you're broadcasting, offering you experiences that match your signal. Change your frequency, and you change what shows up in your life. It's that simple and that profound. Glasgow has given you a gift. A hidden architecture of prosperity coordinates that most people walk past without recognizing. You've learned to see what's invisible to casual observation. You've learned to feel what's imperceptible to unconscious movement through the city. You've become a frequency navigator, someone who moves through space with intention and awareness, using environment as a technology for consciousness transformation. This skill, once developed in Glasgow, transfers to wherever you go. You'll start noticing power spots in other cities, feeling into the frequencies of different locations, using your body as an instrument to detect and access beneficial fields. You've awakened a capacity that will serve you for life. Walk forward from this practice with confidence. You've installed new neural pathways, new default responses, new automatic behaviors around wealth. You've expanded your window of tolerance for prosperity. You've claimed your birthright to abundance. The streets of Glasgow will continue to hold these frequencies, available whenever you need recalibration. Return to them regularly. Keep your relationship with these locations alive and active. They're not just places you visited during a 3-month experiment. They're allies in your lifelong prosperity journey. Power spots that will always offer you exactly what you need when you show up with presence and intention. Welcome to your new life as a wealth frequency navigator, walking Glasgow's hidden prosperity grid with the confident knowing that you belong in the realm of abundance, that money flows to you naturally, and that the universe supports your financial thriving absolutely and without question. Here's where we address the inevitable. You will lose the frequency sometimes. Life will get busy, or you'll get complacent, or you'll decide this whole thing is silly and abandon the practice. Then, maybe weeks or months later, you'll notice that your financial anxiety has returned, that opportunities have dried up, that you're back in scarcity consciousness, stuck at your old set point. This is the frequency backslide, and it's completely normal. The protocols are powerful, but they're not permanent installers of consciousness. They're tuning forks. They bring you into frequency, but you have to keep coming back to them to maintain the tuning. Like working out. One great workout doesn't give you permanent fitness. Consistent practice creates and maintains the result. The warning signs of frequency backsliding are specific and recognizable once you know what to watch for. Glasgow starts feeling like just another city, no different from anywhere else. You walk past the attractor points without remembering what they mean to you or what they've helped you access. The locations that used to feel charged with possibility now seem ordinary, maybe even dull. Your self-talk around money gets harsh again. You catch yourself thinking thoughts you thought you'd cleared, like I can't afford that, or that's not for people like me, or I'll never get ahead. Opportunities that would have excited you when you were in frequency now look like traps or scams. You default to protective, conservative choices instead of bold, expansive ones. If you notice 3 or more of these warning signs, you're backsliding, and you need emergency recalibration. The emergency protocol is simple, but non-negotiable. Return to your anchor location immediately. That day, if possible. That week, at latest. Don't wait until you feel like it, or until it's convenient. Frequency backsliding accelerates if unaddressed. Perform the full protocol at your anchor location, not an abbreviated version. Give it the full time and attention you gave it when you first discovered its power. After the anchor recalibration, commit to 7 consecutive days of daily Buchanan Street walks, even if that's not normally your anchor. The street's meridian effect is powerful for reinstalling baseline prosperity consciousness quickly. 7 days resets you. Then resume your normal rotation with renewed commitment. Additionally, review any audio recordings you made during peak experiences at the attractor points. When you were feeling most aligned, most abundant, most clear, you should have recorded yourself describing the state and the insights. Listen to that recording. Let past you remind present you what's possible, what you've already accessed, what you're capable of feeling. This creates a feedback loop where your peak states reinforce each other across time. The monthly maintenance minimums prevent most backsliding if you stick to them. 2 visits to your primary attractor point. 1 full circuit completion, hitting all 11 locations in whatever order works for your geography. 1 deep dive session of 90+ minutes at Kelvin Grove or the Cathedral or wherever you go for major recalibration work. Weekly Buchanan Street walks continue indefinitely. This street work is like brushing your teeth. It's basic maintenance that prevents much bigger problems if you just do it consistently. Quarterly intensive resets serve a different purpose than weekly maintenance. These are full-day practices where you dedicate significant time to traveling your prosperity coordinates with fresh perspective and renewed intention. Book a Saturday or Sunday 4 times per year. Visit every single location from opening to closing, spending quality time at each, performing full protocols. Bring a journal and document your experience at each site, noting what's shifted since your last intensive, what new insights emerge, how the locations feel different as you evolve. Update your custom circuit based on life changes. Maybe you've moved and proximity to certain sites has changed. Maybe some locations have revealed themselves as more powerful than you initially recognized. Maybe new locations have called to you. The quarterly intensive gives you space to reassess and recalibrate your whole practice rather than just maintaining the existing structure. These intensive days should feel like pilgrimages, special occasions where you're honoring your commitment to your prosperity evolution. Dress in a way that makes you feel good. Bring good coffee or tea in a thermos. Take yourself to lunch at a place you love. Make the day enjoyable. You're not doing penance. You're celebrating your relationship with Glasgow's hidden architecture of abundance. If the practice feels like drudgery, you're doing it wrong. These locations should feel like allies, like friends, like power sources you're grateful to have access to. If that gratitude and enjoyment fade, that's another warning sign of backsliding. Support systems amplify every aspect of this work. If you can find one other person who's willing to explore these protocols with you, do it. Having an accountability partner doubles your likelihood of maintaining consistency. You can take turns visiting locations, sharing insights, and reminding each other to show up when motivation dips. If you can't find someone local, join online communities focused on prosperity consciousness or location-based practices. The specific Glasgow focus is unique, but the underlying principles connect with many existing communities exploring wealth frequency, environmental consciousness work, and urban shamanism. Keep a private journal dedicated exclusively to this Glasgow prosperity work. Date every entry. Document which location you visited, what protocol you used, how long you spent there, and most importantly, what you noticed. Physical sensations, emotional shifts, insights that emerged, synchronicities that followed. Over time, this journal becomes evidence of the work's effectiveness. When you doubt whether any of this matters, you can review 6 months of entries and see the patterns. You'll notice that opportunities appeared after specific practices. You'll see that your language about money shifted. You'll recognize that your nervous system became less reactive to financial stress. The journal makes the invisible visible. Create a photo gallery on your phone with images from each attractor point. taken from the exact positions where you perform your protocols. These photos serve multiple purposes. They're visual anchors you can access anytime, anywhere. Stuck in a stressful meeting? Pull up the image of Glasgow Cathedral and let the anchor reactivate the intention coherence you installed there. Feeling small and inadequate? Look at the Finiston crane and remember builder consciousness. The photos also serve as reminders. Set one as your phone's lock screen for a week, rotating through the locations. Every time you check your phone, you see the attractor point, reinforcing your connection even when you can't physically visit. Finally, use calendar alerts as non-negotiable appointments with yourself. Don't rely on remembering or feeling motivated. Automate the reminder system. Sunday at 9 a.m., Buchanan Street Walk. First Saturday of the month, Kelvin Grove Protocol. The calendar doesn't care if you feel like it. It just reminds you that you committed to this practice because it works, because it shifts your frequency, because it's rewiring your wealth consciousness at a level deeper than affirmations or positive thinking could ever reach. Treat these calendar appointments with the same respect you'd give a meeting with an important client. You are the important client. The transformation promise of this work is specific and bold. After 90 days of consistent engagement with Glasgow's prosperity coordinates, your financial reality will begin to mirror your elevated energetic signature. Not because you're manifesting money through magical thinking, but because you're literally rewiring your nervous system's relationship with wealth through environmental entrainment, architectural frequency exposure, and location-based anchoring. You're changing your wealth set point at the physiological level, adjusting what your body experiences as normal and safe, expanding the range of prosperity your nervous system will allow you to experience and maintain. Within 90 days, assuming you've been consistent with the protocols, you'll notice several measurable shifts. You'll stop flinching at large numbers. Prices or rates that seemed outrageous will start feeling reasonable. You'll catch yourself taking actions you would have previously avoided out of fear, reaching out to higher-level prospects, raising your rates, pursuing opportunities you would have dismissed as too big for you. Your decision-making speed will increase because you'll spend less time in paralysis analyzing potential downsides. Your baseline mood regarding money will shift from anxious vigilance to calm confidence. Even when challenges arise, your nervous system won't spike into panic the way it used to. You've installed too many positive reference points through the attractor point work. Opportunities will appear with increased frequency, not because the universe is magically rewarding you, but because your reticular activating system has been retrained to notice possibilities instead of filtering them out. Your brain has decided that wealth is relevant to you now, so it highlights wealth-related opportunities in your environment the same way it would highlight faces in a crowd if you were looking for someone. You've primed your perception system through the protocols, and perception drives the reality you experience. This isn't metaphysical. This is neuroscience. Two people can walk down the same street and have completely different experiences based on what their brains have been trained to notice. You've trained yours to notice prosperity. Your relationship with Glasgow itself transforms completely. You're no longer just a tourist or resident moving through the city unconsciously. You're a prosperity navigator who recognizes the hidden architecture of wealth frequencies that most people never discover. You walk Buchanan Street, and you're walking a meridian line, not a shopping district. You see the Clyde, and you recognize a frequency reset tool, not just water. Kelvin Grove becomes your Alpha Bridge generator instead of just a pretty museum. The Merchant City's Tobacco Lord buildings are abundance archaeology sites, not just historical architecture. Queen Street Station is a momentum portal, not just transportation infrastructure. The West End embodies creative wealth frequency you can tap into, not just trendy cafes. The Finiston crane is your builder consciousness anchor, not just an industrial relic. Glasgow Green is your earthing ground for scarcity discharge, not just a public park. The university represents scholar wealth potential, not just an academic institution. The cathedral amplifies intention into material manifestation, not just religious space. This new relationship with the city means you always have access to recalibration technology. Having a difficult financial moment? You know exactly where to go. Need to make a bold decision? You know which attractor point will help you access the consciousness state that empowers decisive action. Feeling disconnected from prosperity? The coordinates are mapped, the protocols are tested, the power spots remain exactly where they've always been, waiting for you to show up and plug in. This security, this knowing that you have tools that work when you work them, this eliminates so much of the helpless feeling that scarcity consciousness feeds on. You can teach this protocol to others, multiplying both the impact in the world and your own frequency through transmission. When you explain these practices to other people, you strengthen your own understanding and commitment. When you guide someone through their first Buchanan Street walk or their first Kelvin Grove Alpha bridge session, you're re-experiencing it through their fresh perspective, which reactivates your own connection. But more than that, teaching these practices activates leader consciousness, the recognition that you have something valuable to offer, something that can genuinely help people transform their relationship with wealth. This leadership frequency, this teacher identity, naturally attracts more abundance because people with valuable knowledge to share are valuable. The market responds accordingly. Your new Glasgow identity is that of frequency navigator with the city as your personal attractor field. You're not trying to escape Glasgow to find prosperity somewhere else. You're recognizing that you're standing in a unique convergence of architectural, geological, historical, and cultural factors that create measurable wealth frequency enhancement effects. Other cities have their own power spots. Other locations offer their own attractor points. But you're here in Glasgow, and Glasgow is offering you this specific gift, this particular technology for rewiring your wealth consciousness through environmental engagement. Accept the gift, use the technology, walk the streets, touch the buildings, stand by the river, sit in the galleries, ground on the grass. Observe the momentum, feel the frequencies. Let the city recalibrate your nervous system one protocol at a time until the person walking through Glasgow is no longer the person who started reading this material. That old person, with their old set point and their old limitations, has been gently, gradually replaced by someone new. Someone who knows, in their cells and their breath and their bones, that wealth is available. Prosperity is natural. Abundance is a frequency you can tune to through choice and practice and persistence. Glasgow gave you the map. You walked the coordinates. The transformation is inevitable if you stay consistent. Welcome to your new financial identity, constructed through stone and water and sky and the hidden architecture of Glasgow's energetic attractor points.